What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 798. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, we've got rares and mythic rares, including a whole bunch of gold cards today.
Oh, I am stoked. And you know why? Because I've gotten my hands on Tarkir at this point. I played in the early access event. I bought a box of physical packs, and me and BK were like cracking packs to do draft picks and like build sealed pools.
It's 2011 again.
I know. And so it's just like a perfect storm, because perfect Dragonstorm, if you will, because the Spotlight Series is this coming weekend. You know, it's a big tournament here in Denver, big sealed tournament, like a Grand Prix. Coverage is going to follow me and Reed throughout the tournament. You know, it's going to be cool. GP Reed Duke version 2. And this is the only tournament I'm going to go to this year because I'm not really traveling. But it turns out I would play it no matter what. Obviously, if this was the worst set in the past 10 years, I would be like, great, I'm going to practice it and play it in the tournament. It is not. Tarkir is like right up my alley. Like, I love cons. I love the flavor. I love the 3-color draft format. I've liked what I've seen out of the clans and the gameplay. Like, let's just say I'll be doing a lot of harmonizing in the drafts, you know, and I think that this is set up to be a really nice one. So yes, of course, it's a little too early to tell if this is going to be in, you know, the top 10% or like the top 30%, but I don't think it's going to be in the bottom 50% of sets. I would be willing to bet, you know, quite a bit against that. Just, it's got a lot of the fun stuff that goes into making good draft sets. And I'm really stoked to bring you guys this. Plus, I've gotten a chance to play with a lot of these cards now. So, you know, I jammed like 7 drafts, and then I watched a couple more. So that's, I would say, a pretty good heads up. And well, let's get to the set review, shall we?
Yeah, this is going to be great. And Luis needs this. He's going to be playing in that event. And, you know, everybody else there too. Such a quick turnaround time from when the set came out to when that event happens, which, I mean, I think it advantages people like Luis a lot, but it's really cool to get to see that as well. That's this weekend. So, you know, this show's going up on a Monday, and just on the weekend, that'll be up. And Paul's going to be doing coverage there as well. So anyway, I'll be tuning in for sure. Before we get to the set review, I want to say thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/limited resources. Patreon is a place where you can go to support your favorite content creators and make sure that the shows that you love keep coming out and are at the quality level that you demand. Patreon is where we've been since really it came out, and we really appreciate everybody who supports us over there. We also want to say thank you to Ultimate Guard. They make the best stuff in the business. If you've ever held an Ultimate Guard Sidewinder or, you know, deck box, or maybe like some of their sleeves, they are the best. They are robust products that last for a long time. They look really good, and they feel really nice in your hand as well. You can tell that these were designed with that full, complete picture in mind, where it's like, yes, it has to look cool. Yes, it has to do its job well, protect your cards, but also human beings are going to be handling these products. So it has to feel nice. It has to be premium. And that's exactly what it is. You can check out their full line of products at ultimateguard.com, and you can pick them up at your favorite local game store or your favorite online retailer. Thank you, Ultimate Guard.
The Sidewinder's my favorite Ultimate Guard deck box, and also one of my favorint verbal maneuvers. So, you know, it really lines up nicely. And
who would you say in your life has been the victim of the most Sidewinders from you? I know. I think I know who it is.
I think, you know, it's tough. I think it's actually pretty close between Paul and BK at this point.
Paul and BK. I was going to say BK. Yeah.
Well, recently it's been BK because I spend more time with him. Obviously, before it was Paul because I spent more time with him.
Right.
But you know, I would say that the thing is, it's just so easy. There's just so many things that you could use as ammunition. Like, you give a monkey like a loaded shotgun. What do you expect him to do with it?
I'm assuming you're the monkey with the loaded shotgun in this analogy. Yeah,
great,
but those are, seriously though, those are sweet deck boxes, and all other products are really good. Make sure you check them out. Okay, so we're going to jump into the rares and mythics, but before we do, we're going to go over a grading scale, particularly because we're going to put a grade on every card, but also because it does change quite a bit between the commons and uncommons review and the rare and mythic rare review.
So we're going to use an A through F grading scale, where A is the bombs, game winners, cards that are good in many situations, especially when behind, and the best cards in the set. We're talking cards like Sab Sunin or Lumbering Worldwagon, and unsurprisingly, you're going to see a lot of A's. The A's are the rare and mythic reviews, kind of where the A's hang out. The Bs are cards that actively pull you towards their colors. In this case, they pull you towards a specific clan. In the case of like a 3-color card, and even in a 2-color card, they pull you towards one of those 2 clans. We're talking like premium removal, good efficient creatures, kind of like the top commons and the good to best uncommons. Though sometimes the best uncommons crack the A level. We're talking cards like Transit Mage or Haunt the Network. Cs are playable. The Pawns of Limited, they're pretty interchangeable. They're a step above filler. Like, they're not necessarily like, I'm unhappy when I run this. Those are the Ds, but they're the cards that you're not that excited to run. So we're talking cards like Keen Buccaneer or Crash and Burn, just your average limited card. You'll see definitely plenty of those in this review, though, of course, the grades tend to cluster higher and lower because Mythics and Rares tend to do that. Ds are cards that are sometimes playable, but you'd really rather not run them. In this day and age, a D rating doesn't mean what it used to be. Like 15 years ago, a D or an F would be really bad cards. F still are. Now Ds are just cards that are slightly too bad. Cards like Goblin Surveyor, Gear Seeker, Serpent, which totally fine cards, just a little bit below the curve. Cards that are a little too expensive, a little too much setup cost, a little bit, too narrow. And these are cards that if you run more than a couple of these, sounds like your draft didn't go well. Fs are cards that are unplayable in virtually all scenarios. We're talking cards that cost 10 plus mana or refer to Planeswalkers, cards like Unstoppable Plan or Full Throttle that just don't do anything in limited. And then we have 2 subgrades. We have sideboard cards that you wouldn't typically main deck or be like a D level card in the main deck, but can be up to like a B or even an A, though that's rare, out of the sideboard. Cards like Broken Wings is kind of the archetypal sideboard card. Not a ton of sideboard cards in the Rare and Mythic review. That's just not how Rares and Mythics tend to go. And then lastly, we have Build Around. These are cards that on their own don't really do much or anything, but when well supported can be among the best cards in your deck, a card you would in fact build around. Cards like Push the Limit, and going to see plenty of these, I hope, in the Rare and Mythic review because Rare and Mythic Build Arounds are among the most fun.
Yeah, and this is also where they really do get to push that limit, right? Because some of these build arounds that they put at the Rare and Mythic rare spot are crazy. They're really powerful. Okay, so let's jump in. We're going to start with white. We rotate which color we start on, and we're back to white here. Our first card up is called Voice of Victory. It's 1 and a white for a 1/3 human bard at rare. It has Mobilize 2, and if you remember, that's when it attacks. You get 2 tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature tokens that get sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step. And it has another static ability. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn.
Well, first of all, this card is very strong. I'm actually going to be trying this one in my Vintage Cube. The text of your opponent can't cast spells during your turn means you can't get ambushed by a flash creature. They can't have a combat trick. They can't have a counterspell. They can't even leave mana up to try to remove something. Like, a common play when you have a removal spell, they have a 3/3 out. You're like, well, I could kill that, but why don't I take 3 or see if they play anything before attacking or any of that? With Voice Victory out, they're probably just killing this instead. That's kind of what they have to do. And Mobilize 2 on a 1/3 for 2, that would be about a B-.
Definitely.
I think this card is actually just a B+. I just think it's going to be a huge threat. Your opponent plays it on turn 2, you're going to groan. Late game, imagine a board that's like pretty stalled out, a lot of cards in both players' hands, a lot of creatures on board. You kick things off by casting this, tapping 2 of your 7 lands. Your opponent now has to like unload whatever they want or just, forever hold their peace, and you get to make attacks, even risky ones, without any fear. So great card. Obviously gets much better if you're using the Mobilize. That's a lot of the power of this card, but I would give Voice of Victory a B+.
Yeah, 2 other notes. One of them not being able to cast stuff on your turn is so much better than the reverse. Secondly, 3 toughness. Really good inflection point for a 2-mana card. A lot of the removal does 2 damage, and a lot of the creatures have 2 power. So this thing could realistically turn sideways multiple times before they even have a blocker for it. And that's going to mean that you're going to get some mileage, even just straight up damage-wise out of it, let alone if you're taking advantage of the mobilized tokens in other ways. Next card up is Onofenza, Unyielding Lineage. This is 2 and a white for a 2/2 legendary spirit soldier at rare. It's got Flash and First Strike, and it says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Onofenza endures 2, which is put 2+1/+1 counters on it, or make a 2/2 spirit token.
There's a lot to like here. 2 and a white for a 2/2 flash first strike would already be pretty good. And they would never even print that at like common or probably not even uncommon, just because it's like, oh, I attack with my 3/2. I guess I'm getting snapped off, right? Mm-hmm. And then the endurability means you're just going to get value. Often you're going to cast this as like a 4/4 at the end of their turn if combat happened, because putting 2 counters on this is better than in most creatures because it has first strike. So it kind of gets additional value from the counters, but it's also very common that you're going to want to spread around the love and just endure into spirits, because that way when they kill your unoffensive, which they probably will, you're left behind with some good stuff. So really no way to lose with this card. It's just a fantastic one. I would also give it a B+, and I would try to play it in a deck with a bunch of creatures. That's the main thing you want to do.
Do you think that like is a reasonable line of play that like you block with a creature to do a trade or maybe even a chump block, and then your opponent passes priority and you say, okay, before damage, I'm just going to play on offensive here. And then your creature, you know, assuming your creature is going to die, like either by trading or chumping or whatever, and then you get your 2/2 or your 2 counters.
Oh, sorry. That's what I meant. Not end of turn. You'll play it mid combat to see the trigger. Yeah. So like a pretty common scenario is you have like a 3/3 out. They attack with their 3/2. You're like, okay, block before damage, cast Anaffenza, and then now they have a brief window to kill Anaffenza, but they're not going to be that many times when that can happen. So yeah, pretty great.
I like B+ as well for Anaffenza.
It's a great card.
I mean, one trigger, like that's it. Like it's already okay because of the block that you mentioned, but one trigger and you got a really good card. Next is Clarion Conqueror. This is 2 and a white for a 3/3 dragon. It's got flying. It's rare. And it says activated ability of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated.
So I've now seen this in play a couple times, and I've never seen the text do anything besides the fact that it's a 3-mana 3/3 flying dragon, which already gives it, I think, like about a B+ as well. It's funny. We've given 3 B+ here, but it's because none of these cards quite crack the A level. Like these aren't like, if I open one of these cards, I can't imagine taking a different card, right?
Right.
You can very easily imagine taking an uncommon over one of these cards, but these are all very good.
Yes.
I would say
they also all fit the description of pull you into the colors. Like you're like, oh, I don't have a second color. I got an Anaffenza. Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so I would say Clarion Conqueror is a B+. You just draft it and play it as a 3-mana 3/3 flying. Dragon type is overall upside, so that's great too. And I guess every now and then, you know, they could have a planeswalker. They have an Elspeth in their deck, and you have this, and it's like a sick interaction. But I would say that's more likely to hurt your opponent than you, because you know about the text, and so you'll kind of play in a manner that it doesn't get you. But it's mostly irrelevant. I don't think it's super big, a big part of the card. So I like B+ for Clarion Conqueror, but the next one is actually a preview card I got for TCG Player, and it was good then and it's good now. Sage of the Skies is 2 and a white for a human monk at rare. It's a 2/3. It's got flying and lifelink. When you cast this, if you cast another spell this turn, copy this spell.
Whoa.
So if you play this as the second or more, it doesn't have to be exactly second spell, you get 3 mana for 2/2/3 flying lifelinks.
That's like crazy.
That's an A. That's just a flat A. Like when you cast Sage of the Skies, first of all, counter spells don't even stop this.
The triggered ability just happens.
You'll get a 2/3, and technically they can counter both of the copies, but that's really not going to happen. So even against a counter, you get a 2/3. Against removal, you still are left with a 2/3. If they don't kill either of these, you have 2/2/3 flying lifelinks. There's no way you're losing that race, and it's just 2 really great creatures for 1. Plus, in a disaster scenario of casting it for 3 mana and not getting a token, a 3 mana 2/3 flying lifelink is like a B. That's just a good card.
Straight up.
So I like A for Sage of the Skies.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do anything special. Like, yes, you should probably draft your deck such that you can play 2 spells. But if I'm pack 3 and I'm the slowest odds on deck in the world and I open this, I'm going to take it and I'm going to cast it on turn 5 or 6 alongside another spell. And it's going to be fantastic, even at that point.
Yeah. And you're so priced into waiting, right?
It's hard not to.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it does beg the question, if it was turn 3 and you had no other play, like let's say you have a 2-drop and this in your hand, but the 2-drop isn't one that you're running out on this on turn 2. It's like let's say it's removal spell or something like that. Like, are you waiting?
I would say most of the time you are.
It's so much better to get the copy.
Yeah. So I could imagine a scenario where it's like, you're on the draw, you didn't have a 2-drop in your hand, but let's say you do have one that you could play later, but you didn't have one, like you said, that you could play later. Let's say it's 2 mana, like a Jeskai Monument or something. Mm-hmm. And you're on the draw and your Mardu opponent played a 2-drop and a 3-drop, and now it's your turn 3 and you have another plays. Yeah, you probably got to just play this. You're just going to lose the game. But I would say that you should go to pretty great lengths not to do that.
Awesome. A for Sage of the Skies. Next is United Battlefront. This is 3 and a white for a sorcery at rare. It says, look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up to 2 non-creature, non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Let's just call it an F and move on.
I think that it would be rare that you would even have 2 targets at all. You know, so F for United Battlefront, not what we're doing. Next card, she's back. Elspeth Stormslayer. I'm
going to say, without having read the entire text, A+.
It's 5 mana, Elspeth, 5 loyalty. So A+. They couldn't have screwed this up. Let's see what happens. This is legendary Planeswalker Elspeth at Mythic. With a static ability, if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. Geez, they just tack that on now, huh? Again, 5 loyalty, 3 activated abilities, +1. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Second ability, 0 loyalty. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until your next turn. And -3, destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. Well, you nailed it, Luis.
This is an A+. This is one of the best cards in the set, if not maybe the literal best.
Crazy.
Let's just talk through it. First of all, playing this for 5, +1ing it, getting 2 tokens. You have a 6 loyalty Planeswalker and 2 blockers. Really hard to kill it from that spot. Then you have a 0, which gives all your creatures +1/+1 and flying, and it's a counter, so it's even permanent. You're just going to kill them most of the time when you activate this. In fact, some of the times you're just going to cast this, use the 0, and they're just dead. It's an overrun for 5 mana that gives all your creatures +1/+1 and flying, and then sticks around in the form of an Elspeth.
A 5 loyalty Elspeth is still bad.
but wait. What if they've got a big dragon on? Oh, okay. Then you can use the 3rd mode and you can blow up their big flyer. So don't worry, your bases are covered.
And the only thing you can't hit are 1 or 2 or 0 drops with it.
Well, those aren't getting by the soldiers most likely. or if they are, let's say they have a 2 mana 2/2 flyer, just +1 this. They attack it from 6 loyalty to 4. It doesn't constrain its abilities.
And then the next turn 0 it, and they can't attack. This is just
A+ for Elspeth. What a ridiculous card. There's not even any challenge. This stops everything. Like,
come on, Wizards, make us think about it.
This gets better if you have more creatures. You should want to put this in a creature deck. The static works with Mobilize, though. It just really doesn't matter. If you're like a creatureless control deck, this is still very good. You're not getting as much value out of the second mode. And honestly, the second mode is probably like the most powerful one in a lot of games. But still, Elspeth, A+, you don't have to worry about it. You just draft it.
Other Mythic for white is called Smile at Death. It is 3 white for an enchantment. And it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures.
So this is a really interesting one. I saw this in a pack once, but I didn't take it because I was like green, black, splash, white. It didn't really make sense to take. If you have a lot of creatures that this can bring back, it's a pretty strong card. Imagine you and your opponent just trade off stuff the first couple turns, and then on turn 5 they play this with just 1/2/2 in your graveyard.
Right.
In their graveyard. You're like, okay, well, they spent 5 mana, did nothing, but then on their next turn, they're getting back a 2/2. Now it's a 3/3. And if I kill any of their creatures, they just come back. And that's not even close to the optimal scenario. The optimal scenario is you cast this with 4 creatures in your graveyard, and it's just going to be an overwhelming advantage. So I think this gets the build around tag because creature with 2 power or less is not a gimme. You're going to have some naturally, but you're not going to have, you probably want like 7 or 8 if you can. What you're looking for is things like 4 mana creatures with 2 power are kind of nice because you get a little bit more bang for your buck. But yeah, I would say this is like a build around B, like a very strong card if you can build around it.
Yeah, I mean, did they forget to put a finality counter on these things? Like if your opponent has a 7/7 on the ground, you just block and you just keep getting your creature back over and over, like they can just never get through it.
Yeah, I mean that's
annoying.
The case.
Yeah, because obviously your brain goes to like get back 2, but like even just getting back 1 or 2 feels like it would be good. And if you have any ETB, your opponent can't do that much. The only downside, right, is that this is 5 mana, nothing. Like go. right?
Yeah,
It does take that turn. Yeah.
It's not even just 5 mana go. It's also sometimes you could draw this and have nothing in your graveyard that it gets back.
Right.
They did intentionally make it fairly narrow, I would say.
But like you said, from a build around perspective, you don't just build around based on the cards that you put into your deck. You also build around based on how you play out your deck, your cards, right? You're not like trying to race somebody when you've got Smile at Death in your hand. You're like trade, chump, trade, Smile at Death. I can take this hit, and now all of a sudden I've got this kind of unassailable long-term advantage. Cool card. That's it for white. Elspeth.
Not very many cards because of all the gold cards. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to a lot of gold cards.
Next is Stillness in Motion. This is blue. We're moving to blue. Stillness in Motion is 1 and a blue for an enchantment at rare. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, mill 3 cards. Yikes. Then if your library has no cards in it, exile this enchantment and put 5 cards from your graveyard on top of your library in any order. I can't imagine wanting to do this.
Would you believe me if I told you I've already cast this card?
I would definitely believe you. This is an extremely Scott-Vargasian card.
So what this does, and the reason I think it could be something, this is definitely a build around and probably closer to like, it's honestly closer to an F than any other rating. Mm-hmm. So I'm not out here saying this is a great card, but I had this in a like blue-black deck, splashing green, that had a bunch of Omen cards, because the joke here is once you get to know cards, you exile this, put your 5 best cards on top of your deck, and then if you have an Omen, even just in your graveyard to put back, you can just not deck because you can cast the Omen every turn.
Okay.
I had the rare dragon that gives -X to all non-dragons as an Omen, so I could just Wrath over and over again.
That is hilarious. I wonder if there's a lot of those scenarios that pop up with this where you can kind of get yourself out of it.
or you can kill them with just whatever creatures if you have. But to make Stillness in Motion work, I would want a decent, some Omen cards to make sure you don't get decked, some really good resilient finishers to make sure you can kill them. Because let's say you have the like search for a land Omen. Yes, you won't get decked, but if you're not progressing your game, they're just going to kill you eventually, right?
Right.
So you need that and a deck that cares about self-mill kind of by itself, because then this card does something in the kind of beginning, middle of the game.
Okay.
All that together, maybe you got something. Probably not good, but obviously I wanted to try it.
Of course. So closer to an F than anything. If you just probably viewed it at that, you might just be better off. But if you're creative, let's say, you can get a build around C- or something out of Stillness in Motion. That's pretty cool.
Look, here's the good news. If you open a pack and you see this, no one's going to take it unless someone's rare drafting.
No.
So you'll get it back, and then you'll be able to do something with it then.
There you go. And it does have screenshot equity, too.
For sure.
Next is Taigam Master Opportunist. This is 1 and a blue for a 2/2 legendary human monk at Mythic. And it has Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it, then exile the spell you cast with 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend, which I will read here because I'm assuming this is the only instance of Suspend in the set. It says at the beginning of its owner's upkeep, they remove a time counter. When the last is removed, they may play it without paying its mana cost. If it's a creature, it has haste. So you copy it and you get to resolve the copy, but you don't get to, this one kind of goes into the bank for a while and you don't get to resolve that one.
Basically, when you play your second spell, you get the same thing that you were going to get already. And then in 4 turns, you just get a bonus spell. Okay. And then they start chaining where, let's say you have, a Taigam spell exiled, and then it comes in off Suspend. Then it's really easy to cast your second spell because you've already cast your first one.
Oh, because it does still count as casting it even off of Suspend. That's cool.
Right. Yeah, and it's it is a 2/2 for 2 with that. Even if slow, does kind of draw you extra cards. I mean, imagine playing this turn 2, turn 3, you have 1 drop plus 2 drop. Like that's pretty sick, and it can suspend. It works with creatures and stuff too. You don't need to just.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not just copying like instants and sorceries. Like spell can be kind of ambiguous. It's part of the reason I don't love their terminology. Yeah. Spell sounds like instant sorcery, and often we'll use it like that. But in this case, no, it really just means anything.
Right. When we say the spells deck, we usually mean instants and sorceries. But then prowess also blurs that line because it's just non-creature. And then this just means spell as in by the book. This seems like a card that if my opponent played on turn 2, I would feel a real sense of urgency about killing. And that's a compliment to Taigam. So I like that.
imagine they have this in play, and then on turn 4 they just play 2/2 drops. Their 2-mana 2/2 is drew them an extra card plus the mana to cast it. Like you don't have to spend the mana on it.
It
like
is
in
slow
4 turns,
though, right?
It just comes down.
It is slow, right? 4 time
but
counters.
It's pretty free. Is kind of my point. Like that, you're not paying. I think too much of a cost in order to do this. So I'm a pretty big fan.
B plus?
I would just give it a B. I think Tygam is good. I think if you see Tygam early, it's a good reason to take go into blue.
I agree. I like that.
You don't need
card.
to get that much. Look, if this cost 3 mana and was a 1/1, then it wouldn't be that good because you're putting so much of the power into can I get the trigger? When you're playing a 2-mana 2/2 like this, I don't think it's going to be the all-time best set for 2-mana 2/2s in general.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still like it mostly paid for itself, so you don't have to stress too much about how much you're getting out of it. So I like Tygam Master Opportunist. Oh, another note, by the way, if you exile one of the Omen cards, so let's say you go turn 2 Tygam, turn 3 you're blue-green, you cast a 2-drop, and then you Omen the 1-mana go get a land with the green dragon. You get a copy of the Ley of the Land, sure. 4 turns, when it comes off suspend, you can play the dragon part.
Oh, you can.
So that's a kind of nice little bit of extra value with this one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That is cool. All right. B for Tygam Master Opportunist. That's a cool card too. These designs are neat. Next is Dragonologist. This is 2 and a blue for a 1/3 rare human wizard. It says, when this creature enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant, sorcery, or dragon card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And it also has a static ability. Untapped dragons you control have hexproof. Don't forget if you're playing paper. Nice. I mean, that feels like it's 6 cards to see those 3 different card types. You're going to hit a lot.
And a 3-mana 1/3 is a real piece of material. Plus it protects your dragons, which is really nice. So like you can, they have to go through this first or your attack. One of the things I like, small note about this set, they have a lot more conditional hexproof, and I think that plays pretty well.
Okay.
Like, because they have like, this has hexproof, the Karyakak 6/5 or whatever. This has hexproof until it's dealt damage. This is untapped dragons. You have hexproof. Like, I think that's actually really legit to be able to put hexproof on cards, then it falls off eventually. It's not quite as oppressive as just this has hexproof forever,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would assume that in a normal build with blue that you're a very, very high chance to hit with the Dragonologist. I mean, like to the point that I wouldn't put a strong build around tag on or anything like that. And if you are in that scenario, B-.
Yeah, B? I would just say B. This is just going to be a really strong card. One thing that takes away from it a little bit is the Sibsig Appraiser, the common 2/1 for 3 that lets you draw a card. If you get a bunch of those, then you don't really need to get this at quite the same level of urgency. But still, I think that the Dragonologist is pretty good.
Yeah, nice card. Next is Winter Night Stories. This is 2 and a blue for a sorcery. It's rare. It says draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card. And then this does have Harmonize for 4 and a blue. So this is the one where you can cast it from your yard and tap a creature and use its power to help pay for the colorless part.
Fantastic card. This is 3 mana, draw 3. Then you often are going to discard a creature to this because it's so much more beneficial. But even if you can't, draw 3, discard 2 is not that bad. And then you Harmonize and do it again. Like, if you drew this one card, can you imagine flooding out? Like, no. You can lose a game where you draw this to getting beaten down, definitely. Or they play a 6/6 flyer, you can't answer, sure. But in an attrition game where you're getting to cast spells and they're getting to cast spells, doesn't this make you basically immune to flooding out? And I've had this in 2 different decks.
Pretty much.
And every time I drew it, I was like, I never have to worry again. I can draw every card. I get to draw every card.
Yeah, and even if you end up, pitching it, milling it or discarding it or whatever, you can Harmonize it back for kind of free-ish value.
Yeah, you self-milled this card. I mean, imagine you cast the 2-mana Wayfarer and you mill this. Okay, like you just milled an Ancestral.
Right, you see so many cards out of that. So,
honestly, I like A- for Winter Night Stories because I feel like this just one card puts you in such a good position in the card race. And I think this format is going to have a lot of games where being able to draw cards at this rate is going to you're going to have time to use all those cards. You're going to get to use them and you're going to get to beat your opponent with them. So,
okay. Wow. And do you also think that this is a format that finding like certain key cards is going to have a big impact versus, decks that are a little flatter, with like, there's like those peaks, like, oh, I hit my Elspeth or whatever, GG kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that's true. Every format, obviously, the better cards you have in your deck, the more true that becomes. Mm-hmm. But I do think that this format's going to have some games that lend themselves to that sort of play.
Okay. I mean, we've got dragons and triple colored gold cards. Like there has to be some like
there's some pretty powerful stuff going on there. Okay. This format is not short on power.
I'll go B+ on Winter Night Stories, but you've talked me up. I was going to give it a B. So that's. Anyway, next is Naga Fleshcrafter. This is 3 and a blue for a 0/0 snake shapeshifter. This is rare. It says you may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. And it has renew. You can pay 2 and a blue and exile it from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on target non-legendary creature you control. Each other creature you control becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. And you can activate that only at sorcery speed. Cool.
Oh, more than cool. This card is just basically unbeatable in any sort of board stall. And it starts out as clone. It started out as you get to
just
pay
a
4
real
minutes.
Clone. Wow.
Because it's not just your side of the board. A lot of the clones they make are only yours. This one is not. It's anyone's. And that is just absurd. So I think Naga Fleshcrafter is an A. I think that you'll take this card and you'll just get huge benefits. Because look, if they have the best creature, at least you're tied, and you get to trigger ETBs, all that stuff. And then if you have the best creature, well, now you have 2 copies of the best creature. That works pretty well. And look, there's some creatures that copying a second one isn't that great, whether it's a legend or maybe a utility creature or something. But most of the time, casting this is going to put you in a pretty good position. And then when you renew it later, you're just killed on most of the time. I had a funny play with this that you can make, and I think it's going to come up a lot. I cast it, chose nothing. It went straight to the graveyard, and I renewed it onto a flyer and just killed him with all my flyers.
Really?
Yeah. And that happened in like the second game I ever had with the card. So I have to imagine that's a pretty common play. Because if you choose not to copy anything, it's a 0/0 and it dies.
That's crazy. That's a sweet play.
If you self-mill it, it's great. If you discard it, it's good. A for Naga Fleshcrafter, and try to make sure you have enough creatures in your deck to get good use out of it. But yeah, it's an absurd card.
Straight up clone with upside that's a lot.
A lot of upside. So I don't even know that the clone is the most powerful part of the card.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
I mean, imagine you have a 3/3 flyer out and you just turn all your creatures into 3/3 flyers.
Yeah. Good game. Wow. So A for Naga Fleshcrafter. Don't sleep on that one. Next is Ambling Stormshell. This is 3 blue for a 5/9 turtle at rare. It's got Ward 2. That's its shell. And it says whenever this creature attacks, put 3 stun counters on it and draw 3 cards. And remember, the stun counters are if it were to become untapped, instead you remove a stun counter and keep it tapped. And then it says whenever you cast a turtle spell, untap this creature. Okay, whatever on that part. I'm assuming there's not a lot of turtles in the set. But this is kind of crazy, right? 5 mana, 5/9 means you're just, and it has Ward 2 also means you're just rarely going to get attacked on the ground the turn after you play it. And then you get to slam. It's huge. I mean, 5/9 is weird stat line. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but it's good, huge toughness and enough power to actually
Wasn't the Meandering Tower Shell a 5/9 also?
Was it?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, if that's the case, then yeah. But you freaking Ancestral? Like, yes, it knocks itself out forever, but you just get to draw 3 cards and slam with a 5/9?
Yeah, first of all, there's not many turtles in the set, just the only one.
Okay.
But the way I see this card, and I had this in a deck too, you cast this, like you said, they probably can't kill it. It's very hard to kill a 9 toughness ward creature. You attack. If they block and trade for it, then you're golden because you're very happy with that outcome. If they don't, they take 5, you draw 3 cards, and it's not like the turtle's gone. Yes, it's locked down for 3 more turns, 3 stun counter turns. So really kind of like 4th turns. Mm-hmm. But if you just get to use those 3 cards and then you just have to survive, you don't have to win the game. Eventually you survive.
Do it again. Can you imagine getting to attack
and then it comes
twice?
Out and does it again. Yeah, it's just.
I like this better. This is now officially my favorite 5/9 creature of all time.
You didn't even know a second ago. You didn't even know there were any others. So I'm just saying,
it's not a big upgrade for the Storm Shell, but it's there. This is amazing. I love this card.
Yeah, this card is super, super.
It looks like an A, by the way. Like,
I don't think it's an A. I think
on.
I think it's like a B plus because it does cost a lot of mana, and if you're not in a position to attack, it's quite bad.
How can you not be in a position to turn this sideways?
Well,
also, how is it quite bad? It's a 5 mana 5/9 with Ward 2. That's like the best. I mean, okay, there's some better, but I mean that's a premium blocker.
Sometimes you cast this and then they have a bounce spell and they pay the ward. Like you are paying 5 mana. Like there are games where I don't think this gets you out of it. You're not going to pass it very often. I think you can probably call it like an A minus. That's fine. Okay,
I'll say A minus for Ambling Storm Shell, and I want to give it an A plus because look at him. Look how cool he is.
Turts McGurts.
Last blue card is Meringue River Regent. This is 4 blue for a 6/7 rare dragon. It's got flying, and when this creature enters, return up to 2 other target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Wow. Double mana war. Nice.
You want an A plus? This is an A plus. 6 mana, 6/7 flying, bounce 2 of their things.
That's also crazy.
You can bounce your own stuff, and there's a lot of pretty strong ETBs that I think it's worth considering doing that.
How about that's not even Ambling Storm Shell, go attack with it, play Meringue River Regent, next turn return it to my hand. We're doing it, Luis. The dream. Sure. I would just return their stuff. It also, by the way, has Omen. It's got Coil.
Which is very relevant here.
It is. It's got Coil and Catch for 3 and a blue. It's an instant. And it says draw 3 cards, then discard a card. Dang. Wow. Meringue River Regent. This is a regular rare, too. This is a non-mythic.
Yeah, this is one of the best cards in the set.
Did Blue only get 1 mythic? They did. Why?
There probably is different numbers of like the...
I guess... it's probably because of Elspeth or something.
Yeah.
Okay. That looks like an A+.
It is an A+. It's I think, very easily an A+. I also think that, like, if you are in a spot to cast the Coil and Catch part of this, you often are just going to want to.
You think so?
Here's where Omen is really cool. Because it has Omen, you don't really feel bad about casting that and then shuffling it in.
That's true. You're also getting through a whole bunch of your cards, right? I mean, you get to draw 3 and discard, then you shuffle it in. Your library is like not that big at that point.
Right. Like, unfortunately, you don't get to shuffle it until, like you said, till after you draw the cards. But like, it's still just, I think that the Coil and Catch part, it was funny. I was drafting on early access and passing to the Ham. And he was wondering why I passed a River Regent. It's because I opened a pack with 2 of them. And we both got one. Great deal.
He's probably going like, who is this guy? Oh, that's incredible. Okay, so A+ for Meringue River. The reason...
And don't be afraid to cast the Coil and Catch part. If you need to do that, you need to do that. It's totally fine.
You're probably going to be able to buy yourself enough time. You're just not losing it on your bomb. Like, even just psychologically, knowing that you're going to get it back is awesome. Anytime somebody casts Coil and Catch, it's just like a flex, right? It's like, I'm good. Yeah. I mean, the cards that make it up to A+ are the ones that can either completely turn around or restabilize a game that you were quite behind in, or even turn it around in your favor. And this is one of the rare cards that can actually do that. I can't believe this is just a rare too. Wow. Yeah. Okay, that'll move us to black. Next card is Rot Curse Rakshasa. This is 1 and a black for a 5/5 demon with trample. It's mythic rare. There's got to be more to this. It's got Decayed. It says this creature can't block. When it attacks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. And then it has Renew for black, X, and exile this card from your graveyard. And it says put a Decayed counter on each of X target creatures. And you can only activate this at sorcery speed. So it means that they get 1 more attack with their creature and then it gets sacrificed.
Well, probably that's even less important than the other part. Decayed creatures can't block.
Oh, it
If you
just means they
have this
can't
in your
block.
graveyard, you just go like, all right. I mean, look at this. You play this, you hit them for 5. They're not going to block it.
Right.
Now they're at 5 less, and you just have all your creatures can't block this turn. Well, forever, actually. All your creatures can't block. And if they attack you back, their creatures just die. So, like, what are you supposed to do about this card?
Wow. So you just basically wait till you get to like X equals 3 or so and just hit their team on turn 5. And then just slam them.
You're not even in like a massive hurry, though. Obviously, it can be good to do it whenever. Even just doing it for 2 is awesome.
Does this require aggression on your part?
I wouldn't say that it requires aggression because it's so good at doing its thing. Like it's spotting you 5 points of damage. So even if you're like a mid-range deck or even on slightly controlling side, if you play this and you hit them for 5 and then you have 2 creatures out, like you've already gotten a good lead. But even then, as a defensive card, this is worse. But imagine you decay their 3/3 and their 4/4. Like now they can't attack you with those.
No.
Like they get 1 hit. That's it.
Yeah, then they're kind of forced to. And there's no way out, right? Like if you play this on turn 2, like even if they kill it, it's like you're maybe even happier. If they use a removal spell, you're like, sure, like
yeah, you're not going to feel bad about that.
Right. Like that's not a bad outcome for you. And you still get to do the renew, which is even more powerful than the 5 damage or whatever. Wow. That's a nasty card. Rot Curse Rakshasa, that is mean stuff. Like that is an unkind magic card right there. Hostile. I mean, it forces your opponent to fight, and they may not be well set up for it, or they just die, I should say. What would you give it? Like, this is a weird card.
It's just an A. It's a really good card. There's just not really a scenario like where it's really hard for it to end up where this card doesn't do some pretty good stuff for you. Yeah,
I mean, I guess the scenario, right, would be that you are behind. It doesn't block, and if they're, I mean, maybe it's still okay because if they can't just kill you with their board exactly, then like it still does have a huge effect because their creatures are basically all dead. It's interesting.
If you are at a high enough life total that their attacks just aren't very strong.
Right, but what if exactly. So there's that threshold. Like if you're just behind in a race, then the Rot Curse Rakshasa is kind of
that's the worst part. Is if an aggro deck beating you down, it could be bad. But even then, if you Rot Curse like a 2/2 flyer and a 2/3 ground creature, or like imagine like the 1/3 mobilized creatures. You take one last hit from them and then they go away.
Right.
There's not really any losing with this
weird.
card.
I want to gain life with it.
Sure.
I want to gain 20 life and then just, renew their whole squad and be like, you don't have enough damage.
What's funny about this is you end up looking at this card and you're like, wow, this looks like it'd be really good in aggro. Is it good in control? And it's like, yeah, no, it really is still. It's
still
just
really
a great
good.
card.
Okay. I'm going to go A- on Rot Curse Rakshasa just for those scenarios where you are behind in it and it kind of doesn't do anything.
I'm going to go A. I think this is just going to be one of the better cards.
I mean, how can you put it though against like Meringue River Regent or something, right? Like,
well,
it's
that's
worse.
Unfair. Meringue River Regent's an A+.
Okay.
It's the best. It's one of the top 5 cards in the set. Ambling Stormshell, like Rot Curse is probably better than Ambling Stormshell.
We gave it an A- because you bullied me down on it.
Okay, Naga Fleshcrafter I think is comparable to the Rot Curse. It's better. I'd rather have Fleshcrafter. I would take the Rakshasa over Winter Night Stories. Pick one, pack one. Rakshasa is really good.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that is extremely powerful.
Look, here's the three things it combines. It's a 2-mana deal 5 because they're probably just taking 5. And if they use a removal spell, it doesn't stop the other parts of the card. So like that part is kind of separate. Obviously, Exile's different. 2-mana deal 5 with your creatures can't block anymore. Not even this turn, just anymore. If you put a Decayed counter on the Defender, that card is really bad.
Yeah.
And your creatures can only attack once. Like the combination of those 3 things is really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's just you only get to do it for this one window on, like the creatures they cast after they can do stuff with, right? So like the question becomes if they're beating you down, you kind of want to do it as soon as possible, right? Because you want to limit how many more attacks they get with their squad. So maybe in 2 turns later you do it and you're like, okay, your 3 best creatures can only attack me once more. So they're like, okay, send them all in. And you're like, I'll block one, take the others, whatever. Your life total gets lower, but not bad. But now anything they do after that are just regular again, right? It's not like You know what I mean? So like, again, if I'm facing like an assertive opponent, this card feels like kind of middle ground to me. What's that? I didn't hear what you said.
It doesn't kill all their creatures forever, but it kills a lot of their creatures at very cheap cost.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm still going to go A- on Rot. I mean, we're obviously splitting hairs here, but this card is a gnarly Magic card.
This is also kind of cool because I think it's a pretty interesting card to play. Like,
definitely.
It's very powerful, so you won't, even if you mess it up, it'll still be pretty good. But Raktra's Rakshasa, compared to something like Meringue River Regent, like the Rakshasa, I think actually there's a lot of judgment on how you use it. The River Regent, mostly you cast it, you're going to win.
Cast either side at any point and win. Next is Sidisi, Regent of the Mire. This is 1 and a black for a 1/3 legendary zombie snake warlock at rare, and it has an activated ability. Tap it, sacrifice a creature you control with mana value X other than Sidisi, and return target creature card with mana value X +1 from your graveyard to the battlefield at sorcery speed.
So it's kind of like a weird birthing pod recurring nightmare.
Yeah. And it has to be exactly that.
It has to be exactly. If you want to get a 4-drop back, you have to sack a 3-drop. I mean, this is a powerful card. Like, when you have this in play, you know, they use a removal spell on your 4-drop, and it's like, well, any 3-drop can get it back, and especially if it's like one with like an ETB, that can be pretty nice.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would like build necessarily too far around to optimize this, but it's a 2-mana 1/3 with a strong ability. I would give it a B. I think Sidisi is probably just going to be kind of hanging out, and then when it's good, it's really good. You don't need to activate it many times for it to be good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. The setup cost is relatively high on this, where I don't think it's going to be just an engine sitting on the battlefield crushing everybody, but when it hits, it's like, okay, and it doesn't ask that much of you. So we'll go B on Sidisi, Regent of the Mire. Next is Sinkhole Surveyor. This is 1 and a black for a 1/3 flying bird scout at rare. It says whenever this creature attacks, you lose 1 life, and this creature endures 1. So it either gets a +1 counter or makes a 1/1 token on the ground.
Pretty nice. I mean, a lot of the time you're going to want to use the endurability to give this the counter, which is different than most of the endure cards. Making this 4 to 3/5 is really good. Like this wears +1/+1 counters quite well. But you're not really losing out either way. Attacking and making a 1/1 is also really good.
Do you think there's any like how are people going to describe creating from a bird a 1/1 white token down on the ground? Like, I will produce a 1/1 white token.
Like in terms of flavor wise?
Yeah, like, well, what words are they going to use to describe this action?
I'm going to drop a 1/1 white token.
Right, exactly. But I like what I'm seeing here a lot. It's certainly worth the 1 life, right? To be able, to create a
1 life
little,
matters, though.
It does matter. It does. But usually you can trade the 1/1
much
token in for more than that, just even on a chump block,
But imagine you cast this card on turn 5 and you're at 11 life. It's like, not quite as a free roll. Casting on turn 2 is great, though. I would give Sinkhole Surveyor a B. It's not the best top deck in the world, but it's a very good card early. And even later, it's still a pretty solid card. You're not paying that much for it.
Yeah, I think I would give it a B+.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I guess I would give this a B+, and I'd give Sidisi a B- because these cards are not that close together. Like they're on the opposite ends of the same grade, I guess.
I think so too. So I agree. Because Sinkhole Surveyor on turn 2 is like, you got a problem. Like, that's a big problem. Yeah. Like, they're gonna have a huge board, and it's gonna be pecking away in the air too. All right, next is Avenger of the Fallen. This is 2 and a black for a 2/4 human warrior at rare. It's got Death Touch. And it has Mobilize X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Man, a 2/4 Death Touch for 3 is good.
Yeah, isn't that like a B- level already in terms of stats?
It is. And then it just scales with your graveyard growing. I mean, and it it has a pretty nasty ceiling if it's like 6 or something wild, right? Like
I had this in a Sultai deck that never got any Mobilize out of it. It was great. We got a 2 touches like brick house. How are they getting by that card? And attacking with it, if it makes 3 tokens and you're attacking with it, they're going to have to double block the Avenger and trade for 2 creatures and take 3 damage. And then if you have a trick, it's a disaster. I'm a pretty big Avenger of the Fallen fan. I will say that.
Yeah, this card looks really solid to me. I would give it a B.
Yeah.
It just doesn't ask that much of you, and it has a decent upside. Next is Karsi Revenant. This is 1 black for a 3/3 vampire at rare. Wow, it has flying, death touch, and lifelink. And it has renew, exile 2 and a black, exiles card from your graveyard. Put a flying counter, death touch counter, and a lifelink counter on target creature at sorcery speed. Dang.
This card is obviously just obscene. I mean, 3 mana, 3/3 flying, death touch, lifelink is amazing. And then later in the game, you're just like, all right, I guess I'll power up, my other thing here.
Just anything with 3 or more power from that point is awesome.
Yeah, there's really just no losing with the Karsi Revenant. So I would like
A-. I mean, this is amazing.
Give it an A. Like, it's just really good. And then if you have a 4/4 in play later and you're like, all right, I guess I'll go ahead and pay 3 mana and then attack you for 4 lifelink in the air.
Yeah, totally. And you can hold this over your opponent's head because they are going to kill the Karsi Revenant if they can. And then you can just kind of wait for a good window to fire off the renew on something huge. And even just, we've seen that these games, you get one big hit in with a lifelinker, and you will because it has flying. That can really swing the way a game goes, where it's at that point, maybe if they kill it, you're like, yeah, sure, Yeah, I like A for Karsi Revenant. Yeah. I mean, it just has, it's really efficient.
Card,
Yeah. Next is the Sibsig Ceremony. This is black. This is going to be difficult. It's a legendary enchantment at rare. It says creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. And whenever a creature you control enters, if you cast it, destroy that creature, then create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. Wait, what?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. This is like some weird constructed card. It's like Heartless Summoning type deal where you're like, your creatures are cheaper, but they all die and become zombies.
Okay,
so do not put this card in your deck.
Just an F. It kills your own stuff. Okay. Last black card is Scavenger Regent. It's 3 and a black for a 4/4 dragon at rare. It's got flying and ward. Discard a card, which is interesting because it's not mana, but also like sometimes they don't have one, so like they're going to have to save up, a removal spell plus an additional card to discard. It also has a sorcery speed omen called Exude Toxin for black X, where each non-dragon creature gets -X until end of turn. Wow.
Yeah, this is the card I was talking about, where the non-dragon part is not flavor text. There are some sets where obviously it would be. It is very much not flavor text in this set, but it's still, it's going to kill a lot of the things you care about killing. And then a 4 mana 4/4 flying ward is obviously very good. So the overall combo here is quite strong.
Yeah, that's a great card. I would give it an A.
Yeah, this is an easy A. Like, it's a Wrath plus a big flyer, and if you cast the Wrath, you eventually shuffle it back, or you shuffle it back and eventually draw it again later. The downside is that it can't kill other dragons, but you'll have to live with that, I guess.
Yeah, you just have to work around it. That moves us to red. Our first red card is called Stadium Headliner. It is red for a 1/1 Goblin Warrior at rare. It's got Mobilize 1, and it has an activated ability, 1 in a red, sacrifice this creature. It deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature. Ooh, that's nice.
Obviously, this is a bit of a constructed plant. I mean, that's just, really cheap creatures like this. You have an eye towards it, but it's great. 1 mana, 1/1 Mobilize 1 is pretty solid. It's obviously not just, you can't just attack for free because often this won't be able to attack. But by the time this has kind of gotten blocked down, you just get to sack it and kill one of their creatures, often for 3 or 4 damage pretty easily. So you can also just play this as a 3 mana removal spell later in the game. Doesn't have to attack, doesn't have to be summoning, it can be summoning sick, all that stuff. So I like B for Stadium Headliner. I think it's a really good value card for 1 mana. Imagine if this is your opener, you play this, you get in for 4, maybe even 6 points of damage, probably 4, and then trade it for another card later. You just cast it like a Molten Exhale.
Yeah, that's cool.
Fine card. Plus, a creature removal spell is easy to recur in some color combinations. So, like Mardu might be able to get this back. Imagine this with that enchantment.
Yeah.
That is sick.
That's
like
great.
You're just going to win the game if you have that.
Totally.
Right?
You just get a little machine gun
back every turn.
Yeah, totally. And all of this for 1 mana, right? I mean, that's a lot.
You're barely paying for it.
What would you want to give it grade wise? Oh, did I lose you for a second?
I would give it a B.
A B? Okay. Stadium Headliner gets a B. Next is Quarry Steel Cutter. This is 1 and a red for an artifact equipment. It's rare. It says equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and haste. And it says it has flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 white monk creature token with prowess. And you may attach this equipment to it. And the equip cost ends up being 1 and a red.
Yeah, fantastic card. I mean, 2 mana for an equipment that gives +1/+1 trample and haste with equip 2 is not very good. Like you wouldn't really think twice about this. But this is just going to make free monk most of the turns in a good flurry deck, or even like half the turns, and then equip the monk. So now the monk is now a 2/2 prowess trample haste, can attack right away. If you have more spells, you get to pump it. If you put this in like a teamer deck that's based around harmonize and ramp, it might not work very well, and you wouldn't, you wouldn't prioritize it. You probably don't even draft it at that point, or you'd cut it from your deck. In a flurry Jeskai deck or just a low curve Mardu deck, this card seems awesome. So
yeah,
I would give the Steel Cutter an A-. I think that if your opponent plays this on turn 2, you just kind of feel like you're under a lot of pressure. They're going to if they make 2 monks in a game and then have this thing lying around, that's pretty good.
Yeah, there's also a lot of the cheaper prowessy creatures that would benefit a lot from equip 2, and then it gets haste and trample. And plus, like that's, any of the double strike stuff or whatever really likes to see this card too. I'll say B+ for Quarry Steel Cutter. That's a problem. That card's really annoying.
I'll go B+. Sounds good to me.
Sarkhan Dragon Ascendant is next. It's 1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary human druid at rare. It says when Sarkhan enters, you may behold a dragon. If you do, create a treasure token. And it says whenever a dragon you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Sarkhan. Until end of turn, Sarkhan becomes a dragon in addition to its other types and gains flying.
Yeah, this card is quite good. I think Sarkhan is really low downside, 2 mana 2/2, and the upside is very strong. It's not hard to behold a dragon, and 2 mana 2/2 that makes a treasure is great. And then when the turn you play that dragon, this hits in the air for probably like 4 or 5 damage, depending on how big the dragon is. And then later it can also just keep doing that if you have more dragons. Like you're not really missing out on anything here. Like in a deck with 0 dragons, obviously this is just a straight up 2/2 for 2. You're not gonna heavily prioritize it, but that's just not most of the decks. And even with like 2 dragons, this is still a good card. I don't think Sarkhan's like a busted card, but I think I would give Sarkhan just like a B.
I think I would give it a build around B. I mean, you need a dragon or 2 in your deck to make it work, but otherwise it does. Works really well. Next is Tersa Light Shatter. This is 2 and a red for a 3/3 legendary orc wizard at rare. It's got haste, and when it enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Wow, that's a lot. And then whenever it attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, exile a card at random from your graveyard. You may play that card this turn. Cool.
Yeah, very neat card.
That's a really cool card. How much do you value that discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards part? Because you get that just whenever it enters. Like you're just getting that.
Yeah, I would definitely value that highly. Like getting to filter out your 2 worst cards, put a card in the graveyard that you want in your graveyard, discard some lands if you've got lands. Like that's pretty good. And I think that the fact that it comes on a 3/3 haste is a pretty good deal too. Plus the actual trigger is quite strong.
Yeah, so I like that.
I would give Tersa, I would probably give it a B.
At least, B+ maybe B.
Maybe B+. Yeah, B+. If you're good at filling your graveyard, this card I think is going to be really good.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously it works towards that goal. B+ for Tersa Light Shatter. Next is Magmatic Hellkite. We've got some dragony end here to our red cards. This is 2 red for a dragon. It's rare. It is a 4/5 with flying. That's a nice sweet spot. It says when this creature enters, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Its controller searches their library for a basic land card, puts it on the battlefield tapped with a stun counter on it, then shuffles. So that thing won't untap during the next untap step, basically. How relevant is that? Hitting their tri-land and downgrading it, is that something that we're excited about? I mean, I don't need much, like 4 mana, 4/5 flying. You kind of had me already, but is that extra bit of text anything that we care about?
Well, it is because of the stun counter. Because it means if they have a non-basic, you're putting them at 1 fewer land next turn, no matter what, and that is a pretty big game. Like that by itself makes me pretty interested in this card. Well, that and the 4 mana, 4/5 part, obviously. Right. If you add those things together, then you have a really good deal. Because imagine if you play this on turn 4 and you'd lock down effectively one of their lands for a turn, like you're going to end up in a spot where they can't really do anything, and they have to play off curve. They have to play a 3-drop instead of a 4-drop, or a 4-drop instead of a 5-drop, and that's a pretty good deal, given that a 4 mana 4/5 flying is already a good card. So it doesn't add like a huge amount to the card, but I would say this card looks like a B+ to me.
Yeah, it does to me too. And I do assume that we will actually have targets for that fairly frequently.
Yeah,
right?
just the common gain lands are enough.
Right. Next is Storm Scale Scion. This is 4 red for a 4/4 flying dragon at Mythic rare. It says other dragons you control get +1/+1. And they couldn't help themselves. It has Dragon Storm, if you will. So it has Storm, which is when you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn, and copies become tokens in this case. It's just that's really tough on a 6 mana card, right?
Yeah, but this card is such a huge payoff. I mean, if you cast this as your second spell, you get 2 5/5 dragons.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. You don't need a whole lot more than that. So
yeah,
the way to do that is to like take like the Iridescent Tiger, from the 5 mana 3/4 that adds prismatic mana to your mana base to your mana pool. So you go like turn 6, just play this 2 5/5s for 6 mana. Great. Obviously, if you can wait until 7 or 8 mana and play like 2 or 3 spells total in a turn, you're really talking. But I think this looks like a build around. I mean, think of it as an 8 mana card that you cast a 2-drop, then you cast these 2. Like you can get to 8 mana in this format, and casting this card will be really strong. And if you can squeeze in one more spell, all of a sudden you have 3 6/6s instead of 2 5/5s. Every additional spell is really, really strong.
Is this like a ramp payoff then?
I would say it's a ramp / flurry payoff, where if you can pick up like the free spell, obviously that's a big part of it. If you can pick up other ways to kind of get, a spell on the stack at very low or cheap cost, like that's what you're looking for. But ramp also really works. I can imagine playing this in a Temer deck that is trying to go, ramp, play some removal or card draw, and then just cast this as your second spell. And it doesn't seem impossible to me, honestly.
No. What do you think about it without, let's just say it's not, you've got 6 mana, 1 card or whatever, so you're just going to end up casting it. What do you think of this card just straight up?
I mean, 6 mana 4/4 flying, your dragons get +1/+1 is not a very good card. So that is not a card. I wouldn't put it in my deck if I thought that I was going to be doing any of that.
Okay, so you would build around it enough to enable at least trying to get one other spell off with it.
Yeah. I would like for that to be a possibility, either because I have like a free spell or because I have enough ramp that I can get to enough cards, mana in play, and play this as like a 7 or 8 drop, that sort of thing.
Okay. So a build around grade is appropriate here, just because if you wouldn't play it otherwise. But I mean, this does seem like the hammer. And by the way, this conversation is aiming at getting a single copy, but Storm does not. Like, if the game goes really long and you get up to 10 mana, you could get 3 or 4 of these things depending on how you line everything up. Not likely, but there's things that can happen where you go, hey, look, I got, 4 of these things and they all pump each other up and all that. So, you'd be You'd be real happy at that point. This to me seems like a strong high-end ramp finisher. This is a way that you can close out the game if your deck's capable of either producing a crap ton of mana or you're kind of leaning towards the flurry stuff as well. And that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know. I'm not jumping out of my seat for this thing. That's a lot of setup cost. Storm on a 6-drop is hard.
Yeah. It is a lot of setup cost, but the payoff really is there. I would give it a build around B.
Okay. Build around Beast for Storm Scale Scion. Last red card, also mythic rare, is Dracogenesis. This is 6 red for an enchantment at Mythic. And it says, you may cast dragon spells without paying their mana costs. Enjoy that one, Commander players. Have fun.
Yeah, that is an F.
That's an F. That's not
We're
for
not
us.
playing that one.
That moves us to green, our last of the single colors here. It's Herd Heirloom is our first card. It's 1 and a green for an artifact at rare. It says, tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell. That's not too bad. A little mana rock there for us. And then it also has tap, until end of turn, target creature you control with power 4 or greater gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's cool.
So,
I mean, creatures are kind of the most important thing, right?
Yeah, it's a somewhat restrictive mana rock. Otherwise, if it was just a straight up mana rock, this card would be absurd, I think.
Yes.
But it is somewhat restrictive. But the plus side is tap, one of your big creatures draws a card if it's hitting them. I think that's really strong. I would say this is a build around because you need to make sure that when you tap it for mana, you can spend it like most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time. You want this to be an effective mana rock. Like a Temer ramp deck with 12 spells doesn't want this card, but an Abzan deck I bet can use it really well, or some Temer decks or some Sultai decks. It just depends on kind of what is going on in your deck because the payoff is really there. Herd Heirloom is probably like a build around B, but you can get this to a B plus A minus in your deck. If this taps to cast almost all your spells and you have a lot of 4-power creatures, this is going to be one of the best cards in your deck. It's a mana rock that also taps to draw cards. Totally. That's exactly what you want.
And of course, the more expensive cards creatures tend to cost more, and it plays into both of those things. Yeah, I mean, I like B for Herd Heirloom. I mean, this card seems like it will definitely pull its weight. And then in the right build, like you said, this could be an A minus or even an A level card that could power out, huge dragons and then get you card advantage later on down the line. That's a lot to add. That's a cool card.
Yeah.
Nature's Rhythm is next. It's green X for a sorcery at rare. And it says search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield and then shuffle. And then you can harmonize this, but the harmonized cost is kind of crazy. It's green X. I mean, these cards are interesting because they give you card selection, if you will, plus they put the thing onto the battlefield. So it kind of covers 2 bases, but you're adding double green to the cost of any card in your deck. Like that's just too steep to pay, right? And certainly quad green is like ludicrous.
Yeah, I don't think this card's good. I get the harmonized joke where you're like paying 4 and tapping a 5-drop, but then you paid green X to get the first thing, which is not a good deal. And then you paid 4 mana and tapped a big creature to then get a 5-drop. This looks like an F to me.
It does to me too.
I don't think you're going to have the time or inclination to really actually do this.
No, it's just not efficient enough. Next is Sirach Elusive Hunter. This is 2 and a green for a 4/3 legendary creature human warrior. It's rare. It can't be countered, and it has trample. So 3 mana, 4/3 trample. And whenever a creature you control or a creature spell you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, draw a card. Wow. That's like the most annoying guy ever.
Yeah, like what are we talking about here? This card's awesome.
This is crazy. It can't be countered. And then whenever they mess with anything on your side, it has that Leovold kind of vibe.
Yeah, including this. So you just get to
There's just no way out. Like they have to have a sweeper or something weird.
Yeah, you're getting a nice little 2-for-1, and you're getting a 3 mana 4/3 trample is like really strong. I mean, it's got a lot against counterspells, which is not something that you're too worried about overall. I wouldn't say.
No, it just kind of guarantees that you'll get it. I think I would say it's either A- or A for Sirach for me, just because there's just no, in limited, there's just no realistic way for people to get around this thing.
So if you cast this, the fail case scenario is you cast this and they just don't care in terms of stats. Right?
Yes. And that's hard. This is a 4/3 for 3.
Yeah, it hits pretty hard. So I don't think you're going to be that likely to end up in a spot where that's relevant. So yeah, I think Sirach is just an A-.
I think so too.
Seems pretty great to me.
Great card. Next is Warden of the Grove. This is 2 and a green for a 2/2 Hydra at rare. It says at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Nice. And whenever another non-token creature you control enters, it endures X, where X is the number of counters on this creature. It doesn't have any evasion, no trample, no reach, nothing like that. But I mean, it's a 3 mana 3/3, by the time it's their turn, and it ain't getting smaller.
No, and then when you play another creature, you can just get more creatures if you're behind, or you can make that creature bigger if that's what you need to do.
Yeah, that seems really good to me. There is that window, that really annoying, you paid 3 mana and they killed it with a shock window, but this seems like the upside's worth.
Well, they even have a whole turn, because you're not getting anything out of this the first turn in terms of counters. So you play this, it gets a counter, they untap, they cast their sorcery speed kill spell, they got their 1/1.
Yeah. But
so they have a whole turn cycle.
Yeah.
But if they don't, you start to get value the next turn. I mean, 2 and a green for a 2/2 that at the beginning of your end step put a ++1 counter on it. I think that would be like a B-.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a 3 mana 3/3 on their turn, then a 4/4 next turn, and the other part makes it awesome. I would give Warden of the Grove an A-. I think it's just, look, Sirach and Warden of the Grove and we're actually going to get to another one here, Laced Prowler. They're the kind of bombs that are really dangerous because, yes, maybe you top deck them on turn 10. They're not Meringue River region. But when your opponent plays Sirach or Warden on turn 3, it's like you are under pressure from the beginning of the game, and there's not that much you can do about it that gets you out of that in any advantageous way.
Yeah, and you're under life total pressure. I mean, these cards slam. Warden of the Grove gets real big real quick, and Sirach starts that way. That's nice. Let's take a look at Laced Prowler. What does it do? What is it?
It's 2 green for a 5/5 Snake Ranger at rare. And when it enters, you may mill cards equal to the number of lands you control. So you can cast this and you can mill yourself for 7 if you want.
Whoa.
Or on turn 4, mill for 4. My experience having this in a Temer deck was I would mill more than half the time, but not all the time. It just depends on the situation, depends on your deck, how much stuff you have in your graveyard.
If you're running it out on 4, are you just milling?
Almost 100% of the time. Yeah. You're just not worried about decking at that point. And these decks, A, they have a lot of things to do with their graveyard, and B, let's look at the next part of the card, which is renew 1 and a green, exile this from your graveyard, put X ++1 counters on target creature or X number of lands in your graveyard as a sorcery speed.
Oh.
So it clearly already wants you to mill, because if you play this, you mill 2 lands, and then this dies, and later you're like, okay, 2 mana renew for +4/+4?
Yeah.
Very good card. So 4 mana 5/5 that helps enable your mill stuff that also flashes back for 3+ counters, sometimes much more than that. I like probably B+ for Laced Prowler.
Yeah.
It's still I would give it an A-.
Would you?
The two halves of the card are just so good. This card is really good.
I really like how they're leaning into the power and toughness stuff on green. And we see 3 mana 4/3, 2 mana 3/3 that gets bigger, 2/2 that gets bigger. Laced Prowler's a 4 mana 5/5, and our last 2 green cards are 4/5s and 5/5s respectively. They're, I like having just a lot of power and toughness on green side, and Laced Prowler certainly gives you that in addition to the renewability. Next is Bloomvine Regent. This is 3 green for a 4/5 flying dragon. It's rare. And it says, whenever this creature or another dragon you control enters, it's nice. You gain 3 life. Thank you.
5 mana 4/5 flying, game 3. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great stabilizer. And it has a sorcery speed omen called Claim Territory for 2 and a green. It says, search your library for up to 2 basic forest cards, reveal them, put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, and then shuffle. Dang. That is a nice magic card right there. Bloomvine Regent. Nice.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Love it.
this is another card that like it curves into itself perfectly for
Yeah.
constructed or for people lucky enough to just immediately redraw it. But 3 mana to go get a forest into play and a forest in your hand is very strong ramp. And then 5 mana 4/5 flying gain 3 that also gains 3 if you play another dragon. Yeah, Bloomvine Region just looks like an A to me.
It does to me too.
Both halves are great. I'm in for both.
I would be casting Claim Territory a lot of the time too. That is really powerful ramp.
Yeah.
Last green card, the Hoof Baby. Crater Hoof Behemoth is back. It's 5 green for a 5/5 beast at Mythic Rare. It's got haste. And it says, when this creature enters, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Basically, in almost any reasonable board state, you don't need to have much at all, just 2 creatures or something like that. Crater Hoof will often just end the game. The question is, can you cast it? It's 5 green. It's 8 mana with triple green in the cost in a 3-color set. So is this an attainable goal?
Oh, it's definitely attainable. It just puts it firmly in the build-around camp where you are going to need basically green ramp, most likely. Okay. Though blue card draw helps. The way to get 8 lands into play partially is to make your land drop every single turn.
It's true.
I would say it's like a build around A- where it's 8 mana win the game.
It is.
The difference is compared to something like Ugin, you need to actually have a creature in play or a couple of creatures. With just 2 creatures, you're adding this as itself as an 8/8 plus an additional +6/+6. That's 14 points of trample plus the power of your creatures to start with. So it doesn't take much for this card to be really good, but it does take something. If they're at 20 and you have 1 creature, it's not going to be a win the game spell, which is unfortunate. You do want your win the game spells to win the game.
Yes.
So I do like this in a Temer ramp deck, but you are balancing 2 things, which is having 8 mana and having creatures in play. That actually makes me want to drop it to build around B, where when this card goes on the stack, it's going to have a very high win percentage, but sometimes you're just not going to be able to cast it, or you're going to be able to cast it and it won't do enough. So yes, I bet in Sealed, this is like one of the better things you can open.
I bet it is.
You just cast this with 3 creatures in play, they're almost automatically dead. With 4 creatures in play, forget about it. So I like build around B for Crater Hoof. You got to be ramping. You got to have a high creature count. And it's kind of hard to balance both of those things sometimes.
Yeah, but it looks like it's here. Ramp. There's good ramp spells. We just had one with Bloomvine Region plus the cards we did in the last review. So build around B for Crater Hoof, and that'll put us into the real meat of the rare and mythic rare review for a set like this, which are the gold cards. So our first one is called. Looks like there's a full cycle of sieges here. The first one is called Barren Steppe Siege. This is 2 white-black for an enchantment at rare. And it says, as this enchantment enters, choose Abzan or Mardu, which is the 2 clans that black and white touch here. If you choose Abzan, it says at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Dang. If you choose Mardu, it says at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. Oh, man.
So all the sieges are awesome, except actually the blue-green siege. It kind of sucks. But
okay.
This one, both the choices push you in the same direction, which is a little unfortunate. You'd kind of rather one of the modes be good when you have no creatures and one be good when you have a lot. Mm-hmm. They're both good when you have a lot of creatures. But they're both really powerful, and they both have their moments. So if your board is wide, you're probably going to choose Abzan. And if I had to guess, you're going to choose Abzan 80% of the time and Mardu 20% of the time, something like that.
Okay.
But imagine a scenario where they have just a 5/5 in play and you have a mobilized creature. You just attack them, mobilize, then you cast this, and they immediately have to sack their big creature at the end of your turn, because this doesn't have to be in play when your creature died.
Right. They don't know it's coming.
So you could, even without mobilize, attack a 2/2 into their 6/6, and they're like, okay, block. You're like, okay, Barren Steppe Siege, go. You sack your creature.
Right.
So there's really no way to lose out with this as long as you have plenty of creatures in your deck. I would give Barren Steppe Siege an A.
Okay.
What if you go like play creatures on turns 2, 3, and 4 and play this on Abzan?
Yeah.
3 +1/+1 counters that turn, and then next turn you play another creature. Now you're getting 4. Like, that's just a completely unbeatable amount of counters if they're not really doing some good stuff. And if you're kind of on the defensive and you don't have that many creatures in play, the Mardu mode can still be pretty good. It just depends on like how you can kind of manage it. Once they know about it, they're not going to block your things, but Mobilize still kind of does the thing. And some decks, like if you play against a big creature deck, they might not be able to beat you sack a creature every turn.
Yeah, if you're playing Temer and you have, even if you have to throw away a mobilized creature or two just to get the thing going, it'll work.
So I like A for Baron Step Siege. Just make sure you draft enough creatures.
Yeah, just have enough creatures in your deck. Next is Frostcliffe Siege. This is 1 blue-red for an enchantment at rare. These are all the sieges are rare. And you can choose Jeskai or Temer. If you choose Jeskai, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Nice. Or Temer, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample and haste.
So once again, this is kind of both modes are good if you're hitting your opponent. So it's like, okay, that's not, the ideal scenario. But Frostcliffe Siege still has some pretty high upside. You really want to choose Jeskai mostly because if you can go like 2 mana, 2/1 flyer, play Frostcliffe Siege, choose Jeskai, attack, draw a card, like that's pretty nice. But if you've got some big creatures to play, casting the Temer mode is okay. This is overall one of the weaker sieges just because it doesn't give you a whole lot of tempo in either direction. And the games where it's good are often games where you're ahead. You're either hitting them with creatures for Jeskai or you have some big creatures to play for Temer. So I would give Frostcliffe Siege a B. I think it's still a powerful card. When your opponent plays it, you sit up in your chair a little and you're like, okay, got to stop them from hitting me if they chose Jeskai, or got to make sure I play defensively enough to beat the Temer mode. But it's not a card that I don't think this is going to transform that many like losing games into winning games.
It doesn't have that defensive aspect that like choosing Mardu on Baron Step Siege does.
Or not even defensive.
Well, I wouldn't say defensive because you have to attack with the
Well, what I mean is
side.
like it doesn't have a good thing if you're not making forward progress.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Is I think part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, both of these do have that similarity. It's a major weakness for sure, but the first mode on Baron Step, the Obzon mode, just growing any creatures huge is great. This doesn't quite have that consistency to it. I agree with you. B for Frostcliffe Siege. It is asking a bit more of you. Next is Hollow Merc Siege. This is green-black. Again, enchantment rare. You can choose Obzon or Sultai. If you choose Sultai, it says, whenever a counter is put on a creature you control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. And if you choose Obzon, it says, whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. It gains menace until end of turn.
I've had the pleasure of this in like an aggressive green-black deck, and it was obscenely good. Here, I think you want to choose Obzon most of the time. This is another kind of 80-20er because if you're doing the thing, Sultai will push you ahead, right? Like you choose Sultai, you renew something, you draw a card, you do that again next turn. You're like your 2 mana cards drawing you a card each turn, and you're kind of like, yeah, this is going good. Obzon doesn't require you to do anything but attack, which is much easier, and you also end up either way you're getting an advantage, but Obzon you're actually getting on board too. So I kind of think just getting +1/+1 counters here is going to be enough of an advantage that you don't need to also be drawing cards in a mode that's a lot harder to get to work and less aggressive. Plus, this gives menace. So I like this a lot. I would play this in a deck with lots of creatures, and I would just use the Obzon mode most of the time. There will be times when you play the Sultai mode and you can like immediately draw a card off it. You're going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I like the Obzon mode for lining up with the price as well. Just 2 mana for Hollow Merc Siege means that, you could double spell on a turn where you get to play this, get a good attack in, and maybe even still play another creature to keep the attacks flowing next turn, if that first one died or whatever. Where the Sultai mode, that is clunky, right? I mean, putting counters on creatures is hard. Renew is the most common ability, but that requires stuff hitting the graveyard. The renew cost can be expensive. Yes, you could get a card back, but I mean, you got to get another card off of this before you're even kind of feeling happy about it if you chose that mode. So yeah, the Obzon mode, though, if you're being assertive and it just unlocks a bunch of attacks that don't get any better for your opponent over time, that's really good.
Yeah, I would give it an A. Hollow Merc Siege is a great card.
That high, huh?
I mean, think about this. You play 2-drop, 3-drop. They play like their own. Turn 4, you're like, Hollow Merc Siege, attack, make my 3-drop into a 4/4 menace. They can't really block. Maybe they double block and get blown out by something, or they just don't block. Then you play another thing. Next turn, you're like, attack again, get another counter on something. You can move it around based on the board situation. The menace part really matters.
Okay.
It means if they just have one creature, you can attack with your 2/2, make it a 3/3 menace. They take 3, they attack you back with their 4/4. Next turn, you attack them. You're getting more counters. And I think overall, this is going to be one of those cards. it's a little bit like Innkeeper's Talent. When your opponent played that card on turn 2, you're like, wow, I'm going to lose this game.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Hallowmark Siege is not that different. It's not as good. Innkeeper's Talent's a busted card, but it's still pretty good.
I would give B+ for Hallmark Siege, just mainly because, like, what if I flip it around on you and I say, well, your opponent played 2-drop, 3-drop, they curved out on you and maybe you stumbled once or something. Then the Siege is like, it's looking a lot slower, where you'd rather have it be like a removal spell or just anything that could help you stabilize. Still, I'm not disagreeing with what you said about the power level.
Let's talk about it once you've cast the card, and then you'll be happy to bump into an A.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am not disagreeing with the power level. It's just, I have found myself not ahead in games before. Next is Windcrag Siege. This is 1 red-white for an enchantment. Again, at rare, you can choose Mardu or Jeskai. If you choose Mardu, it says, if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And if you choose Jeskai, it says at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It gains lifelink and haste until end of turn.
So the default mode here, because all of these seem to have like a bit of a default mode.
They do.
The default mode here is Jeskai. Yeah. You don't have to do anything. Getting a 1/1 lifelinker every turn, just even defensively, is very good, and it has haste, so you can kind of press the advantage. If you're winning the game, you can choose Mardu. If you have some good attack triggers going on, then yeah, you can choose Mardu and you can really get in there.
And that it doubles your mobilize. Is that kind of the baseline?
That's the main thing. But there's other attack triggers too. I think even if you didn't have the Mardu mode, I would give this card like probably a B+ A-. And given that it does have the Mardu mode, well, I think just give it an A-.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Jeskai mode is worth an A- on its own.
Yeah.
Right, this is just a huge problem on turn 3, and it's an enchantment, and it works well on defense and offense. So yeah, that's great. That card is nice. Next is the last of the sieges is Glacierwood Siege. This is one you said you thought was probably the worst of the bunch. 1 green blue, and you can choose Sultai or Temer. If you choose Temer, it says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, target player mills 4 cards. Well, I'm in. Or you can choose Sultai. You may play lands from your graveyard. Okay, now I see what you're saying. These are interesting, but they're totally different than the ones that all the other ones are like these, like, you're attacking your opponent, you're drawing cards, you're doing it. This is kind of like, I'm going to be over here, maybe generating some incidental value or something like that.
Yeah. Glacierwood Siege has its moments. Like, not the Sultai mode so much, because I think Crucible of Worlds is just a really weak play to make. Even if you had 5 lands in your graveyard, you're going to spend 3 mana to do that. Like, if you have 5 lands in your graveyard, you've done a bunch of stuff already. So I kind of feel like you're not going to end up needing to do that. And the Temer mode is the one that's interesting. You do have to have a deck that works with it, though. Not all decks will.
Yeah, you need to have a bunch of instances.
I do think it's a legit build around. So this is the only one of these that's a build around. I would give it a build around B. If you have a spell heavy Temer deck, you don't need that many triggers before this card kind of kills them. Like, if you cast 3 spells and build them for 12, that's already a pretty good start. If you cast 4, that I assume that's good enough, Yeah.
I feel like also Glacierwood Siege is, like, if you told me that I just got both of these, like, I wouldn't be floored by that, like these.
Yes.
It would be like, okay, that's kind of even more interesting. Like, the fact that I have to choose one or the other is like pretty tough for that siege. But yeah, like you said, it probably have its moments. Triple color cards. There are many. The first one is called Thunder of Unity. It is red, white, black for a saga. So that's an enchantment saga at rare. And just as a quick reminder, it says, as this saga enters and after your draw step, add a lore counter, and then you sacrifice it after chapter 3. So chapter 1, so this is when it ETBs, is you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. And chapters 2 and 3 are the same. And it says, whenever a creature you control enters this turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
This card's awesome.
That's sweet.
I mean, 3 mana to draw 2, lose 2 is obviously tough on triple color card. But if you just cast 1 creature a turn afterwards, then the net result was you drew 2, your opponent lost 2. And, you broke even on life because you gained 2. But I don't think that's how these are going to play out. When you mobilize, this triggers.
Right.
if you have a mobilize 2 card, like, oof. And because you drew 2 cards, you're probably casting a few things too.
Right. That chapter 3, like where you get to like use the mobilized card you have plus the one that you drew off of it from chapter 1 and cast it or whatever, like that's going to be a lot. I wouldn't be surprised at all, if you end up 2 cards and up on life and, having, 7 or something hit your opponent over the course of those turns.
Yeah, I think Thunder of Unity looks like a great reason to be Mardu. And kind of a point I want to make when we're talking about these 3 color cards especially is looking at them early in a pack, say pack 1, pick 1. When you take one of these, you're committing pretty hard to either I'm going to go Mardu and play Thunder of Unity, or I'm not going to play it. Whereas a monocolor card can go into 3 different clans, or a 2-color card can, because they're all enemy color, can go into 2 different clans. So the combination of those things means that it's so much less risky to pick a 3-color card. If you're first picking a 3-color card, it has to be strong enough, not quite A level, but B+ or above generally. And so we're kind of grading them with that in mind. Mm-hmm. That being said, if you look at a 3-color card later in the draft and you're already those 3 colors, then there's not much of a cost. There's still some, because it's still in a Mardu deck easier to cast a monocolor or 2-color card. Mm-we
came to cons to cast triple color cards like this. Right. Yeah.
Totally
and
agree.
Of course they also we are assuming that you are those 3 colors. Like, this would not be good in Temer, right? Like you're not splashing for these type of cards. And obviously in Mardu, with Mobilize being a thing, you could set up turn cycles after Thunder of Unity that are just gnarly, right? Where it's just like drain you for 6 on this attack step, and you still have to deal with all this combat, right? Like you can't just afford to sit there and chump block or eat the 1/1s for Mobilize anymore, because they're coming back in next turn too, and if you don't, well, you got drained a bunch, you took a bunch of damage, and this is the type of card that could just pile up so much advantage over the short period of time that it's on the battlefield that you could just win with it.
Yeah.
What would you give it?
Honestly, I'd give it an A-.
Yeah, I think so too. It has a slight build around component, but it's just going to be built in because of the colors that it's in. So I don't think you'll have to think about it.
You're just going to be like, oh my God, this is so bad.
Totally. And they drew the cards too. So they're going to like use those cards over the next couple turns. Next is Zurgo, Thunder's Decree, same mana cost, red, black, white, for a 2/4 legendary orc warrior at rare. And it has Mobilize 2. And during your end step, warrior tokens you control have, oh, really? This token can't be sacrificed.
So Zurgo's a funny one, because I do think Zurgo's good, and I would be happy to play this in any Mardu deck. It's a little it's aggressive enough to the point where I think I would want to I don't think I'd want to first pick this card. Like, I think it's good. I think it's like a B-level card, but I don't think I'd want to start on this most often.
Do you mean because it's like so critical that you try to play this on like turn 3, basically?
Yeah, it loses so much value later because it can't attack nearly as well. It's just not. I just think it's not going to be that strong.
Right.
Like later in the game, and keeping some 1/1 tokens also gets worse over the course of the game as well.
But but if you do get it on 3, it snowballs, right? And it can be like a kind of a 1-card win if they can't deal with
definitely.
it.
If you cast this on 3, it's like a Hero Blade Hold.
Totally.
They can't kill it. Maybe they can't even block the tokens, and you just get to start to go off with it. But
turn 5, it's like mediocre.
Right. So I would give Zurgo a B, but this is just very importantly not a card that pulls me into Mardu.
Yeah. Okay. So B for Zurgo. A on turn 3, C plus on turn 5.
It loses a half grade every turn after that.
Exactly. Next is
though to note, you can play this and it saves your other mobilized creatures. It doesn't have to attack to do that, but it is still not a card that I think is incredible.
Next is Inevitable Defeat. This is 1 red, white, black for an instant. It's rare. It says this spell can't be countered. And what it does, exile target non-land permanent. Its controller loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. I guess when you're playing 1 in a Mardu, you get to do stuff like this, but holy smokes.
Well, I guess the other thing I want to mention, not only are there cards that pull you into Mardu versus not, right? Also, one of the biggest differences that we didn't touch on until we saw Zurgo was Zergo's good on curve and less good off curve. Inevitable Defeat is good at any point in the game.
Yeah.
So
arguably
that's a very
better
big difference.
Later in the game. Yeah.
Right. You have better targets. The life totals will be closer, all that. So I like Inevitable Defeat. And part of the reason I wouldn't mind taking this early compared to something like Zergo is I can splash this and I cast it whenever it's going to be good. So I would give Inevitable Defeat an A-.
Same.
Just a huge swing, kills their best thing, exiling it so it doesn't get death triggers. It can't be countered, cuts right through ward and counter spells. And lose 3, gain 3 is just a pretty big swing too. So A- for Inevitable Defeat, which brings us to a really sweet one. Mardu Siegebreaker. It's 1 red, black, white. So Mardu mana +1, 4 mana total. 4/4, human warrior at rare. It's got death touch and haste. When it enters, exile up to 1 other target creature you control until this leaves the battlefield. Okay. When it attacks, for each opponent, ignore that part because there's only one in the context we're talking about. So when it attacks, you put a tapped token that's a copy of the exiled card attacking it, and then it sacrifices it at end of turn.
Whoa! It mobilizes another thing? That's cool.
But it's really strong. I mean, you cast this, you exile something, you attack, you make a copy it, and let's say they block and kill the Mardu Siegebreaker. Well, you still got to hit them for a lot in a 4/4 death touch, probably traded in a pretty favorable way. Maybe they had to block with a 2/2 plus a 3/3 or a pair of 2/2s or whatever. But the part that really just gets completely ridiculous is imagine you exiled something with an ETB.
Oh,
so
man.
You play this, exile ETB, attack, get the ETB trigger when the token comes in. They trade for Mardu Siegebreaker. Your ETB card comes back and does it again.
That's wild.
That's just completely obscene. I think Mardu Siegebreaker is incredible. You really want to find good ETBs when you draft this card. Like that is how you're going to get the most value from it. And a 4-mana 4/4 death touch haste with a bunch of upsides is also pretty good. So I like A- for Mardu Siegebreaker. It does go up if you get good creatures to exile with it, because that is just like a game-ending play.
I guess the rules question is, does the token trigger mobilize on itself?
No. If you exiled a mobilized creature with this and then attacked, you would create a tapped mobilized creature attacking, but it wouldn't.
But you would never have it go from not attacking to attacking, which is when
right.
Triggers.
It wouldn't do that.
Okay, well that's a little bit of a miss, I guess, for a Mardu card, but whatever. This is great. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would give it an A.
Yeah, I like A-, but whatever.
You also can just not do the exile thing, right?
Yes, you can also make it just a 4/4 haste if you want.
With death touch, yeah.
With death touch.
Yeah, you're right. A- for Mardu Siegebreaker. Next is Neriv, Heart of the Storm. Same mana cost again, 1 red, white, black for a 4/5 flying legendary spirit dragon at Mythic rare. And it says, if a creature you controlled that entered this turn would deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. That is cool. So mobilized tokens plus haste creatures just double up.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's awesome, but that's really cool. I like that design.
Yeah, it's a cool card for sure. It's like Zergo. A lot of the value of this is that you played a 4/5 on turn 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not like the most excited about Neriv. I think it is a good card. I think I would play it if I was Mardu. I don't think I would take it super highly as a reason to go into Mardu, because it's like 4-mana 4/5 that maybe your mobilized stuff is dealing 2 damage instead of 1, or you combine it with another haste creature and I guess you're kind of getting somewhere. But overall, this looks like a B+ to me, and that's not, I want to slam a triple color card, pick one level.
Yeah, 4/5 flyer for 4 mana is really good, but when it is over 3 colors, that does knock it a little bit. And I agree with you. Not that many creatures have haste, and for the most part, well, that does get interesting. I guess I view a lot of these mobilized tokens as just getting eaten by random 2/2s that are around, and I guess that doesn't happen anymore with Neriv on the battlefield, does it? They trade.
Yeah, that part is good.
B+ for Neriv, Heart of the Storm. Next is All Out Assault. This is 2 red, white, black for an enchantment at Mythic rare, and it says creatures you control get +1/+1 and have death touch. Okay, well that's pretty good already. When this enchantment enters, if it's your
I want to see you figure out exactly how that works.
When this enchantment enters, if it's your main phase, there is an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. When you attack this turn, untap each creature you control. What is this trying to tell me?
What do you think it's trying to tell you?
Do you just get an additional combat, I guess?
So yes, but the reason it's got the very convoluted wording is it wants to let you cast this before your first attack and still get 2 subsequent attacks.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I don't like, these cards always just confuse me.
So basically, you have 2 2/2s out. You cast this. Now they're both 3/3 death touches. Mm-hmm. Now you're getting an additional combat phase. And when you next attack, untap your creatures. So you attack with both. They both untap. Then you get a combat phase. Then you get a main phase. Then you get a combat phase.
But you get an additional main phase in between. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I guess
hilarious.
I can't really like fully explain how
is it good?
All that. I think it's going to be quite good. 5 mana to give all your creatures +1/+1 and death touch is a pretty big game.
And this whole second clause is just for the turn that it entered. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
It gives you 1 extra attack. That is all it gives you.
Okay. But you do get the +1/+1 and death touch kind of forever. That is pretty strong. And again, it obviously works really well with Mobilize. That's kind of the joke with all these cards, it seems. But even just on anything.
Yeah. If you have 3 creatures in play, this is giving you a pretty substantial board presence.
Especially if one of them produces another creature or 2.
Right. So I like A- for All Out Assault. Like this is the kind of card that pulled me into Mardu. If you just had, because here's the other thing.
Oh, you get more Mobilize triggers?
Yeah. Imagine you just have the Dalkovan Pack Beast out. You play this, you attack with your 1/5 death touch. It makes 3 2/2 death touches. If they don't kill your 1/5, it attacks again. It makes 3 more.
And do those ones get untapped too?
Yes, you can stack the triggers.
You can't attack with them again, can you?
You can. Like,
because the tap and attacking haste. Mobilizes don't actually have haste, right?
Oh, sure.
What the heck? So you end up with like a few random untapped 2/2 death touches, but you get 2 hits. This is really weird how this works, but it does leave you in a really good position. Like, even if it doesn't feel particularly elegant with the way that Mardu's core mechanic works, that is still an excellent place to be left, right?
Yeah.
Bizarre though.
Yeah, I guess the untapped mobilized tokens, sure, but I still think it's.
But then you have these death touch blockers, like it's all good stuff. It's just weird.
Yeah.
A- for All Out Assaults.
Yeah, I think I would just get. I think you could just give it an A. I guess that's fine too.
It is powerful. I'm just going to trust that this is just going to all work out in my favor if I'm playing Mardu cards and I play All Out Assault, and then the game will just be over really quickly. Next is, we move into Temer. It's Songcrafter Mage. This is green, blue, red for a 3/2 human bard at rare. It's got flash, and when it enters, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains Harmonize until end of turn. Its Harmonize cost is equal to its mana cost. Can you do that at instant speed? Like it's sort of snapcastering it?
Yeah, you can cast you can't cast a sorcery at instant speed, but
you can target instants with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you can target it, so it works the way you want with instants. Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I think Songcrafter Mage is pretty sweet. It's obviously a little bit difficult to cast, but it still, I think, is going to end up being a pretty effective card here.
And then the joke is that you use it.
Yes.
To cover.
So, like, imagine you have the River Wheel, the 4 mana, put a quick card back on top or negate. Turn 4, you're like, or it's in your graveyard already. You 4 mana, you go Songcrafter Mage, target it, Harmonize, cast this, like.
Right.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that's really nice. And that's also probably why we see 3 power on it,
Yeah, no, it's definitely built for that. Yeah. So this is a build around. You can't just slot this in your deck unless you have some good targets for it. But this is a little bit more of the kind of card that getting this 5th pick's your payoff for being Temer. you're not first picking this and going into Temer.
Totally.
I don't think it's generally going to be worth doing that. So
Definitely.
That's kind of how I see the Songcrafter.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it basically will just let you buy back a removal spell or a, card advantage spell or something at some point during the course of the game. I would give it a B.
Yeah, exactly. I like B for Songcrafter Mage.
Temer Battle Criers. Next, same mana cost, green, blue, red for a 4/3 Orc Ranger at rare. It says during your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater.
And so, again, spells means creatures, everything. And this is already making all your stuff 1 cheaper, which is pretty nice.
How do you feel about 3 mana 4/3 with this type of cat, 3 different colors? It's just okay, right?
Yeah, I agree. It can work out, but you can't really count this as a 3 mana 4/3 that you're going to be playing and attacking with on turn 4,
Right. It just doesn't happen that often. Yeah, I mean, this to me this isn't the type of card that it kind of reminds me of Songcrafter Mage, how you described it, where it's like, I don't think I would jump into Temer for a Temer Battle Crier, but if I'm in Temer, yeah, all day, I'm playing it.
Yeah.
Just doesn't draw me into the color trio for that, I think I would also just give it a B. Making all your stuff cheaper is powerful, and, Temer is the one that tends to have the big splashy stuff at the top end. And now I'm not going to complain about a 4/3 for 3, even if it's tough mana. So I'd say B for Temer Battlecry. What do you think?
Yeah, I like B. This card will have some really good games.
Yeah.
Like you'll have some games with this where you cast this on 3 and then turn 4 you cast like a really nice double spell.
Totally. Yeah. Next is Eshki Dragonclaw. This is 1 green, blue, red for a 4/4 legendary human warrior at rare. It has vigilance, trample, and ward 1. And it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Eshki Dragonclaw.
So if you get if you get the triggers, you end up with a 6/6 Vigilance, Trample, Ward 1, and you drew a card. Also, this can count towards the creature aspect. So on turn 6, you can play this and play a non-creature spell.
Even on turn 5, right?
Or turn 5 if you have a 1-drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is funny because all these Temer cards are kind of feeling the same. Where of course. I mean, I'm playing the heck out of Eshki Dragonclaw. I'm not 100% sure I would, jump ship off of a adjacent color trio to jump into it for this type of card. It's kind of just a bunch of stats, but man, 1 trigger, it's stupid, right? You get the card back and this thing's huge. I keep thinking about Ward 1 on it just because that could be the difference between giving you that window to actually do that thing. Because I assume you're not going to be triggering this 2-3 times in a game. It's just kind of about getting that first trigger to really make it amazing. It's already pretty good. I mean, 4 mana 4/4 with all those abilities isn't bad. Yeah, sure. I mean, I would say B+ for Eshki Dragonclaw. I think the upside's there.
Yeah, I like B+ for Eshki. I mean, if you can reliably trigger this thing, you are really making some good moves.
Roar of Endless Song is next. It's 2 green, blue, red, so 5 mana for an enchantment saga at rare. Chapters 1 and 2 are the same in this case. You get a 5/5 green elephant creature token. So turn you cast it, next turn you just got 2 5/5s. And then chapter 3 is double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. What in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm in, obviously. This one's just... This is kind of what I was hoping for from the others. Not that the others were bad, but you kind of left going sure. This one's just are you kidding me? Yeah, please, I'll take 2 5/5.
5 mana for a 5/5, not a good deal, especially across 3 colors. Two 5/5s? Okay, yeah, that's a great deal. And then they attack as 10/10s? Okay, sure.
Sure, why not? And it's each creature on that last thing too. So if you have other stuff laying around, they just get all doubled up too. Oh man, yeah. Well, I like A for Roar of Endless Song. That seems like a really, really good card in any mid-range parity or a head scenario, and it seems totally fine if you're behind to just go, here's a 5/5 and there's another on the way. Deal with all of this to try to kill me. It also just breaks out board stalls like nothing, right? I mean, Roar of Endless Song just completely shatters parity with that third ability. I guess it's just an A.
Yeah, I would give Roar's Endless Song an A.
Dragonback Assault is 3 green, red, blue, so 6 mana now. This is an enchantment. It's mythic rare. And it says, when this enchantment enters, it deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. And it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you get a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. Oh man. So clean up the mess when it comes in and then just start playing lands and getting 5 or 4/4 flyers.
Yeah. I mean,
that's cool.
Dragonback Assault is just like, what text would you want on your landfall make a 4/4 flyer enchantment? Well, a sweeper would be really nice.
Yeah, a sweeper would be really good. And this doesn't quite do that, but it's really close enough. It's going to take care of the types of boards that can mess with Dragonback Assault. You know, the only knock on a card like this, or not the only, but you know, the biggest knock on it is that it is 6 mana and it's a landfall card. So there are some times where, you know, the next turn you don't have a land drop and you draw a 2-drop for the turn and you're going, come on, like, let me get this assault going. Cause at that point you just want to draw a land every turn. I mean, you're not beating 4/4 flyer every turn. Nobody is. But whatever, that is not going to stop me from playing it. That's just a nitpick more or less. What grade would you give Dragonback Assault?
I would say it's an A+. When you cast this card,
okay,
you often are sweeping the board. 3 is a lot. I mean, it doesn't kill everything, but it kills a lot of things, including like 3/3 dragons. And then every land is now a 4/4. Like
flyer,
yeah. When your opponent plays this, you have to kill them very quickly, or you're never going to. And it does so much to stop you from doing that.
It does. All right, I'll go A for Dragonback Assault. That's early on favorite cards in the set. Last teamer card is Ireni, the Song Unending. This is 5 green, blue, red. So now we're up to 8 mana for a 10/10 legendary spirit dragon at Mythic. It's got flying and protection from white and from black. And when it enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. There's a ramp target for you.
I had this card, and it was just the best card in my deck. And the only thing stopping it from being the literal best card in the set is that it costs 8 mana.
Yeah.
But it really checks every other box. It's got pro black and pro white, so all the good removal spell colors can't kill it. Right? So you're just like, okay, well, I can't kill it with destroy or exile effects. Well, how can I kill it? Well, it's a 10/10, so your damage effects aren't going to kill it. The best way to kill it is there's a couple of green cards that can kill it, like destroy target flyer, or like you fight with a death toucher or something.
Oh my God.
It's almost impossible to kill. Well, blue can bounce it, but its ability says kill all your opponent's creatures when you cast it.
Right.
So bouncing it is not an advisable way to deal with it. So, I mean, it's 8 mana, 10/10, unkillable, and when you cast it, it kills all their creatures. Like the song doesn't last very long once you cast this card. Let me put it that way.
It's unending. It sounds like it ends real quick, at least the song of that game. So the only caveat is that you need to be either geared towards the late game or ramping or something like that. But otherwise, it's an A+.
Yeah, I agree that it's an A+. And if I saw this, I would do my best to draft around it.
That's amazing. Next up is Abzan. It's Felithar, Dawn of the Abzan. This is white, black, green for a legendary human warrior at rare. It's a 3/3 trampler. And it says, whenever it enters or attacks, you may sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control.
So Fellothar is basically saying, you want to go wide and make it worth it that sacking a permanent's worth enough counters, which, including itself, it gets one too. So
can you sacrifice the mobilized tokens?
You can sacrifice Fellothar.
I meant the mobilized tokens or something. Like, is there a window where you can?
Yeah, they die end of turn, so you would be able to sacrifice them.
Okay, yeah, I guess what I mean is, so you attack with Fellothar and a mobilized
Oh, I see what you're
creature.
asking. Yes, you can stack the trigger such that you mobilize, then sack a token, and then get to get full value there.
Okay, so that's another little thing. I mean, obviously, maybe not obviously, but that's not what this is going for. But there's something there. Yeah, so I because again, my mind goes to, what are my expendable tokens or non-land permanents, let's say. Right. What are the things that I don't mind?
Mobilize is certainly the best place to look for that. I agree.
What else?
I think just like playing like the Wayfarer or cheap creatures that you don't mind sacrificing, like cards with ETB abilities or what have you.
Okay. What do you want to give Fellothar?
This one's tricky because I think there are spots where it can be really good, but it's also not always going to be good. There's definitely times when it's just really doesn't do that much.
I mean, it's a very real cost to sacrifice non-land permanents. Generally speaking, creatures are the ones that you have around the most, and that works against itself here. There just seems to be something decent about that, though. I mean, you don't need to do much to really change combat.
If you mobilize with it, this card is awesome. But even then, if you sack a real creature because you have 3 creatures in play, I think that you're still going to get some pretty good value out of this. There are times when it's just a 3/3 trample for 3 with a difficult cost. But there's times when this represents tons of extra damage on the board. I think Fellothar is good.
I think so too. I would say B+ for Fellothar, Dawn of the Abzan.
Yeah.
I don't trust it completely to get it into the A range, but it's up there. Next is Severance Priest. This is same mana cost, white, black, green for a 3/3 Djinn Cleric at rare. It has Death Touch, and it says, when this creature enters, target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, exile that card. When this creature leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates a XX white spirit creature token, where X is the mana value of the exiled card.
So it's like a Skyclave apparition, but it eats a card out of their hand.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of this because the casting cost means, unless you're like really good at fixing or snappy about casting this, you're not necessarily looking at great stuff. And if you exile a 6-mana dragon from their hand and they kill this and they get a 6/6, it's not like you completely destroyed them.
Not at all.
The Death Touch is kind of funny because it's like you don't really want to trade off with this card,
Yeah, you kind of want to set it off to the side. Yeah, it's tough because this is sort of like, a twisted version of these cards that are like, 2 and a white, destroy something, and they get a creature. Even if it's just like a 2/2, those things always underperform, right? Even if you're downgrading their 6-mana dragon to a stupid 2/2, those type of cards suck. Like, they never, ever do well. And this is a lot different than that, but it has some of those vibes, right? Where like this is kind of built to die, being a death toucher, and then your opponent's just going to get this advantage back. You kind of have to capitalize on getting a card out of their hand and having this on the side and then never really trading it off or just leaving it back as blocks. That's not that bad. What about instant speed? Like, they can kind of get you, right? Like, if let's say they had you get rid of a 4-drop or something like that, and then they kill this at instant speed, they just get that 4/4 right now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like also a liability for your own combat in some way.
Yeah, I think that
this is starting to get a little fragile.
I like kind of like C for Severance Priest. Like, I would play it in an Abzan deck, but I'm not really that excited about it.
Agreed. It creates some problems for you. Revival of the Ancestors is next. This is 1 white, black, green for an Enchantment Saga at rare. And it has 3 different chapters. Chapter 1, create 3 1/1 white spirit creature tokens. Chapter 2 is distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. And Chapter 3 is creatures you control gain trample and lifelink until end of turn. Hey, that's pretty good. I mean, Any one card that creates 3 tokens tends to do pretty well. This one is difficult to cast, but then it builds an army, from there.
Yeah, so 4 mana, you get 3 tokens. Then they, if you want, all become 2/2s, and then you get trample and lifelink. Yeah, this looks like a great way to get your Abzan deck across the finish line, because it's like you cast this, you probably aren't going to be too far behind when you cast this because you made 3 tokens. At the very least, you're trumping. Then you get 3 more of stats, assuming you have things to put it on, which pretty hard not to. And then the lifelink in the third saga means that your attacks are probably pretty decent there too.
Yeah, especially if you put it on something kind of bigger. Growing up some of your other creatures plus one of the tokens or whatever. Yeah, I think I like B+ for Revival of the Ancestors. There's just a lot of good things going on with this card.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like an A-. I mean, imagine a game where like you're both just doing stuff and then they cast this and you're like, okay, well, they just put 3 stats here and then 3/3 next turn, and then next turn they get to attack with a huge lifelink attack. Like if you don't kill them before the third one, you're going to have a hard time, I feel like.
I think so too. Also, there's a good world where you have 2 other creatures and the spirit tokens are just kind of there as fodder. Like you're not necessarily putting the +1/+1 counters or the chapter 3 stuff towards them. They're just kind of there, but you put those on your real creatures and grow them huge. Yeah, B+ A- for Revival of the Ancestors. Next is Yathin Roadwatcher. The same cost, 1 white, black, green for a 3/3 human scout at rare. When this creature enters, if you cast it, mill 4 cards. When you do, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's pretty good.
I had this one and it was pretty good. Like, again, this is like the kind of card that gets you to your Abzan deck to a better spot, not a card that I see first pick and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to be Abzan.
Yeah, it looks like a B.
Yeah, I'll give Yathin Roadwatcher a B. Note that the creature you return doesn't have to be among the 4 milled.
Yeah, and 3 or less is that's a pretty good range of stuff. Next is Betor Kin to All. This is 2 white, black, green for a 5/7 legendary spirit dragon at Mythic rare. And it's got flying. And it says at the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. And you've already got 7 on this thing. Okay. Then if creatures you control have total toughness, 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Let's keep going. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life rounded up.
Rounded up. That's really important.
There it is. Yeah. So you only need 3 additional toughness to get the card at the beginning of your end step. You had me.
That's an A. 5 mana, 5/7 flying, draw a card into turn.
Yeah.
We're done. The rest is whatever. Like I'm not even saying it won't come up. It definitely could. But it doesn't matter. It wouldn't change the draft the rating I give this at all.
No. I do think it's funny that there's a cards checking if you have 40 toughness on the battlefield, but A for Betor Kin to All. Next is Perenation. This is 3 white, green, black for a sorcery at Mythic rare. It says return target permanent card. Oh, I get it. From your graveyard to the battlefield with a hexproof counter and an indestructible counter on it. Wow. I mean, it is 6 mana over 3 colors for a reanimate from only your graveyard, but it does make it like impossible to deal with. Like, how good is this if you brought back a 1/1 flyer?
Not very good.
Like, can't be killed, blocks forever, soaks up every piece of damage. I'm trying to think of like the worst case scenario, right?
I mean, yes, but it still isn't really going to stop them from doing any of the things they're doing.
Yeah. Okay, but again, I'm trying to think of worst case. What's an average
case scenario
case? You get back a 4 or 5 drop.
Yeah, or something with lifelink.
Something with lifelink or evasion.
So this card does have.
What about if it had death touch? A 1/1 flying death touch with it's just like the most annoying thing ever.
This card has upsides here, but I really just don't think it's very good. It's too situational. In the times when it works, it's going to be pretty awesome. You're going to get back a 3-4 lifelinker or whatever, and then what are they going to do about it?
Right.
But I would say most of the time, it's just you're going to have this in your hand, and you're just going to be like, well, I hope I get a good target, and I hope it works out. And I'm behind because I spent 6 mana, and now I'm gonna not be able to attack with this thing, and they're just gonna go around it. So yes, hexproof and indestructible, strong combo. I actually think, this is the rare mythic. It's a sideboard card. I think that there's some matchups this card's probably incredibly good in. I just don't think it's going to be that good most of the time.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be kind of good. Like, I think if you get back anything that costs like 4 mana or more, you're probably pretty happy about it. I don't know. It is really expensive and conditional. So I feel weird about going out on a limb, but my gut is just saying that, like, what are they going to do? Like, there's just so many cards. What are you
thinking? Like a C+, B-?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm fine giving it a C+ or a B-. I think that my most common use case will be boarding this in if I think that there's a matchup that's going to go long and they're particularly soft to this card.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing I don't want to fall into the trap of is, like, this creates a very annoying card, right? Like, whatever it is that you get back could be very annoying to your opponent. That doesn't mean that it's really good. It also gives you the safe, warm feeling of, you really can't kill my creature. But that doesn't necessarily lead to victories. It just makes you, like, not worry about your creature dying. And so I don't want to over-index for those things. But there's something there. The average deck that just plays its best creature that costs 4 or 5 mana or whatever, it dies, and you just play this and get it back, is probably pretty happy. Like, I just don't, decks just aren't built to beat hexproof indestructible creatures. It's just not really a thing.
It's true.
Jeskai. Flamehold Grappler is our first one. It's blue, red, white for a 3/3 human monk at rare. It's got first strike, and it says when this creature enters, copy the next spell you cast this turn. When you cast it, you may choose new targets for the copy. But you just get that one window.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the Seagate Stormcaller. Do you remember that card, the 2 mana 2/1 that copies your next spell?
Yeah.
It's the exact same text. You're going to want to play this and then play a spell. So what I like about Flamehold Grappler is it's a 3 mana 3/3 first strike, and sometimes you'll just play that. It's not like Songcrafter Mage, where if you don't have a spell to bring back, you feel kind of bad about casting it.
This feels pretty fine.
Yeah, this one I think ends up working out just fine. And then if you cast it later, it's going to have a pretty good effect on the game too. So
yeah, and this could lead to some very explosive turns as well. I like it a lot.
I would give Flamehold Grappler a B.
Right?
A pretty solid card, yeah.
That's what I wanted to give it to. Next is Narset Jeskai Waymaster. Same cost, blue, red, white, for a 3/4 legendary human monk at rare. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. Oh, man. 3 mana 3/4 is kind of sweet. I like that. It gives you a little time to set up these flurry turns and stuff. But what do you think of discard your hand and draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn? Is it just a late game engine?
Yeah, but I think it's actually a pretty good one because, look, you're not going to discard 3 cards to draw 1 card, but it's pretty easy to cast like 2 spells in the same turn. And when you end up doing that, if you have 1 card in your hand or no cards in your hand, sure, cash them in. I mean, I don't really see a reason not to.
Yeah, and I could easily see a scenario where you run out of gas, you draw your card, play it, and then on the end step you just get to replace it basically, and then you still get your draw step next turn. The only thing I don't like about Narset here is that, and I guess it's on point for Narset's flavor, but like it discourages you from playing card draw spells, Luis. Like, we can't have that.
Yeah.
If I draw a card draw spell, then I'm not going to want to discard my hand. This card does seem good to me, though. It's 3 mana 3/4, which I like. Not amazing, but I do like the idea of getting into the late game and having just like a little bit of an extra engine going. I'd probably give Narset like a B.
Yeah, I think it's a B. It's reasonable stats for a cost. if you have it in play, your opponent eventually is going to be like, "Whoa! If I don't deal with that, they might have a turn where they go like land, spell, end of turn, draw 2 cards, and then that fuels itself to maybe draw a card or 2 next turn." Like, I don't know, does some real things.
There's some stuff there. Next is Rediscover the Way. Same cost, blue, red, white. This one's a saga at rare. And chapters 1 and 2 are the same. It says, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Nice. And there's no restriction. It's just 3 cards. You get one of them. And then chapter 3 says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell this turn, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. We've really seen that double strike kind of sub theme here for those explosive turns from Jeskai.
It also feels like almost a cycle of like thing overrun, which is like
it does.
There's a lot of that.
I wonder if this is their stopgap on, well, we made kind of a set that has a whole lot of like setting up for your mana, and we don't want these games to go forever, you know. Anyway, this card seems good to me, though. It is slow, right? 3 mana over 3 colors to effectively get a card, even if there is card selection. And then you do get one more, so you do end up a card with a lot of selection in there. Is a little slow, but that has to be worth it, right?
Yeah, it's double anticipate into like a nice little overrun.
Yeah. And
I'm in.
It maybe doesn't need to be said, but it triggers prowess and all those other things too. I do think though that this is kind of pushing the limits on how much mana you want to spend on these type of effects. Like, 3 mana over 3 colors and it doesn't affect the board. That turn it's acceptable, but it's starting to push that limit a little bit. But by the time you get your free anticipate on the next turn and you're just like off to the races, that's awesome.
Yeah,
really helps you set up for double spelling.
This is going to be great in any Jeskai deck, and also you can just try to play it as one of the last cards you play once you've stabilized the board, or you just throw it out on turn 3 if you don't have a better play there too.
Yeah, you talked about flood protection. This definitely gives you that too, or hitting your land drops. It's good. I like Rediscover the Way. I would also give it a B. The way. Yeah, same thing. What about Discovering the New Way Forward?
It's 2 plus Jeskai mana, so 2 blue, white, red for an instant rare. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage, and when damage is prevented that way, draw that many cards and deal that much damage to them.
Whoa. And that's any source, so like a spell or a creature hitting you or anything.
Yeah, though a spell is probably not that likely, but yes. It
would have to be a weird burn spell.
Yeah, most likely it's a creature, and
so they say attack you for 5, and you say play New Way Forward. You take 5, I draw 5.
Yeah, that is the jam. So the main problem I have with this doesn't come up in best of 1. I think it's a pretty strong card. It's like prevent it. You take 4, draw 4. Marshall, if we play against each other and you get me with this game 1, you're just not going to get me with it again.
Never getting with you again. Never.
It costs so much mana and I have to hit you. So you're going to pass with 5 mana up and I'm just like, I won't attack.
Yeah, play another thing, go. Yeah.
Yeah. So just be aware that is kind of how that is going to play out. But
what a brutal swing, though. Anything like 3 or above, right, is just like, oh, God. That's going to hurt. That is really going to hurt. Also, it could just end a game if the game's really close.
Yeah, prevent
your dragon.
It does do quite a bit of damage, but
how good is this card?
It's assuming your opponents aren't going to play around it, it's probably like a B or B plus.
Yeah.
Once they play around it, it's like a D.
Yeah.
Maybe worse. I don't know. It's pretty hard.
Well, let's assume that you're playing on Arena. It's a B plus for New Way Forward because people don't play around stuff usually till you get up to the upper realms. And in best of 1, this is a rare. Like, what are they supposed to do? Play around New Way Forward? Like that. That would almost be worse than playing around it when you don't even know your opponent has it is worse than not in a lot of those scenarios. So yeah, I like it. In a best of 1 world, this is the type of card that can completely swing a game. Next is Shiko, Paragon of the Way. This is 2 blue, red, white for a 4/5 legendary spirit dragon at Mythic rare. It's got flying and vigilance, and when it enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. And then it does remind you that A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token.
Yeah, so you can copy a creature or whatever. Fantastic card.
So it just flashes back a 3 or less anything.
Yeah. I mean, you're just going to play this and get a 4/5/5 vigilance plus 3 mana worth of stuff in one card, and that's just going to be great for you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just give this an A.
Yeah, it's just classic zero work.
Just 2 for 1 city. And you get to cast the spell too, though, right? I mean, this is better than just like drawing a random card. Like, yeah,
it puts a bunch of stuff into play. Like, it puts 8 mana worth of cards into play right away here.
Yeah, the only thing is that you have to have a target, but I just don't think that that's going to be a problem. So yeah, Chico, Paragon of the Way. I will follow you, Chico. You get an A. Next is Jeskai Revelation. This is 7 mana. It's 4 blue, white, red for an instant. It's mythic rare. It says return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. Jeskai Revelation deals 4 damage to any target. Create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. Draw 2 cards. You gain 4 life. Holy crap. That is a revelation.
Yeah. I mean, this card's awesome. It's like the Jeskai Ultimatum, basically.
It really is.
And it just does like exactly what you want to do. Like you spend your time getting up to 7 mana, you play this, and then you just boom. You bounce something, you kill something, you gain life, you play 2 1/1s. Like it's pretty hard to end up in a spot where you're not where you're dying if you cast this. And then the 2 cards.
It's impossible. I mean, this is unbelievably powerful. You just have to get 7 mana. I mean, that's the thing. Your deck has to be capable in Jeskai of consistently getting you to 7. But if you can get to 7 and you resolve Jeskai Revelation, like there is no way your opponent can kill you that turn. And you've drawn 2 cards. You've created a board state for yourself. You've decimated their board. You bounced something and killed something big on their side. You also just gained 4 life. Wow. I mean, again, I'm throwing out the mana consideration because I think that Jeskai isn't as well built to get to 7 mana like this. Like it's not really one of its core competencies, but I mean, this is an A+++++ if you can do it.
Yeah, and getting to 7 mana is easier when you have a bunch of card draw spells.
Definitely. You don't miss your land drops, a few well-timed tempo cards, to give you the time to get to your revelation. But I mean, yeah, assuming that your deck is remotely capable of casting it, this is one of the best instances I've ever seen in my life. That card's crazy for limited. Yeah, it reminds me of what's it called? It's even better though, isn't it? Then what is it that I'm thinking of?
You're thinking of Cruel Ultimatum?
No, yeah, it does kind of remind me of that too. No, I was thinking of the one that you could like cycle for a treasure, and it was 8 mana.
Oh, Magma Opus.
Magma Opus. It's like that, but better. That moves us to our last trio of colors here, Sultai. Awaken the Honored Dead is the first one. It is black, blue, green for a saga, again at rare. 3 different chapters. Chapter 1, destroy target non-land permanent. Hey, done. This is all now gravy after that. 2 is mill 3 cards. All right, that's some kind of watered down gravy. Chapter 3 is you may discard a card. When you do, return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. So they really front loaded this one, right? 3 mana, destroy target non-land permanent. Sweet. That's fine. It's sorcery speed. And then you get to mill 3, which, has upside, but isn't, super great. And then the third one is you can kind of upgrade a card in your hand from something junky like a land or whatever into a spell from your graveyard. That's really good.
Yeah. Very solid. I mean, kill something, set up your stuff with the mill, and then get to trade your worst card for something good.
Yeah. Not a 2 for 1. Right? No card advantage here.
No, there's no actual card advantage.
But there are advantages.
Yeah, you're getting the mill 3 advantage, and you're getting to that exchange is not quite worth a card, but like
it's coming up on it.
Pretty close to turn your worst card into your best creature.
Right. from the yard.
Or if you need to hit a land, then it's really good.
Yeah. Then
if you're really returning a land with the third chapter, which I don't think is that likely.
It's turn 5. Yeah. I would give Awaken the Honored Dead a B.
I think I would give it a B. Yeah. But this is again, one of those cards that you play in Sultai, but doesn't make you Sultai.
Right. Exactly. Next is Fangkeeper's Familiar. This is 1 green, black, green, blue for a 3/3 snake. It is rare. It has flash, and it says when this creature enters, choose 1. You got 3 choices. You can gain 3 life and surveil 3. Whoa. Or you can destroy an enchantment, or you can counter target creature spell. That's sweet. I really like that first mode. Right, because it gives you that out of just, I want to play my Fangkeeper's Familiar and I just want to get something, and gain 3 life, surveil 3 is legit. Like that's a serious advantage to get. But then the other 2 are more conditional, but also really strong. You know, I mean, those are like straight up killing things that could be killing you. This card's awesome. That's sweet.
Yeah. It's also really nice that you can leave up mana for this. This is a little different than New Way Forward. In game 1, you're going to get them with Fangkeeper's Familiar most of the time. It's a rare. Yeah. They're probably not going to play around it. They'll think you have like Rakshasa's Bargain or whatever to card draw spell, and then into this. Well, if they don't play a creature into this and you just cast it end of turn to surveil 3, gain 3, and you get a 3/3 on the board, still pretty good.
Especially if they didn't spend mana they could have.
Right. If they didn't play a creature and then aren't able to use the mana. So I like A- for Fangkeeper's Familiar. Same. There's not really a situation where it's bad.
No.
Your opponent has some control over how good it is.
Yes.
They can make it worse, but it's still very good.
Right. And it just has that, like, gain 3 life really is a game changer on these, especially if you're behind. You flash this in combat when your opponent's kind of making their big final hit, and all of a sudden you're up 3 life with a 3/3 blocker they didn't know about. That's a big swing. But you know, the most common use case that you're going to be really happy with is just counter target creature spell. I mean, you just get a straight up 2-for-1.
That's the money mode. That's the one you want.
That's the one you want. Next is Kotis the Fangkeeper. This is 1 black, green, blue for a 2/1. Oh, it's indestructible legendary zombie warrior rare. 2/1 indestructible. That is annoying. Whenever Kotis deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. What? But I have to pay 4 mana for a 2/1?
It's indestructible, but it just isn't going to get by their 1/3s. I think this card's pretty bad. I did play against it and play with it, and it was like, oh, this is not a card I should be taking.
This is terrible, right?
It's like a D.
Or is 2/1 indestructible just fine for like just sort of an infinite blocker, or is it not?
Kind of, but like against the Mardu deck, it's not that good against Mobilize because it just blocks one thing. I just think it's bad. I would give the Fangkeeper a D. There's some games where if you played it could be good. If you can pump it, I guess it's good. That's not.
Is that
really
what you're supposed to do? Is give it? Oh, I get it.
You're supposed to renew onto it and then whatever.
Okay. But maybe get trample or something. Okay, I get it. That's cool. But yeah, I would say D for Kotis the Fangkeeper. Next is Lotus Light Dancers. This is 2 green, blue, black for a 3/6 zombie bard at rare. It's got lifelink. Oh, now we're talking. When this creature enters, search your library for a black card, a green card, and a blue card. Put those cards into your graveyard, then shuffle.
So it's
3 renew cards, hopefully.
And it's a really good body for renew because it's a 3/6 lifelinker.
Yeah. Picking up counters just makes it unassailable. It's already pretty good.
So I don't think this is an amazing card, but I think this is a pretty strong high-end card. I would give it a B-. Like,
okay.
You're probably getting like 1 card's worth of value from the trigger.
Okay.
Like, if you get 2 different cards with +1/+1 counters, if you have 3 good renew cards to get, then yeah, that goes up. But I would say on average, you're getting 1 to 1.5 cards. So 5 mana, 3/6 lifelink draw card is a good card, but you know, it's not like an unbeatable card or anything.
Yeah. I would wonder if there's other things besides renew that would be really nice to have. Also, would you, like, if this was later in the game, would you take out undesirable draws from your deck and put them in the yard? Like, let's say you have a 2-mana 2/1 or something that you just don't
your
want.
First priority is putting good renew cards in it. But if it's late enough, you might not even want to do that if they're good on their front end. Like you have a Naga Fleshcrafter.
Yeah.
So you probably can set up a win with that if you renew it, honestly. Yes, I think it's totally legit if you don't have something better to do with the trigger to be like, oh, I don't want this 2-mana 2/1 anymore. So let's just dump that one in the graveyard.
And you can always fail to find any of these, right? You can just
like
you can get one black card if you want, or 0 or whatever. Okay, next is Taval, Arbiter of Virtue. This is 2 black, green, blue for a 6/6 legendary spirit dragon at Mythic Rare. It's got that combo, flying and lifelink. And then it says spells you cast have delve, which means each card you exile from your graveyard while casting those spells pays for 1 generic mana. And whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. Whoa, for any spell you cast?
Yep, not even just the delve ones.
Man, I gotta say though, a 5-mana 6/6 flying lifelink, you don't need to cast many spells. Like, you just turn this thing sideways a few times, and your opponent can't do anything. They can't attack into it. Like, it's a must kill.
Okay, here's a question: Is the text, not the keywords, the text on this an overall drawback? I think it is.
It's a drawback. If it was just 6-mana or 5-mana 6 flying lifelink, I would be happier than this delve nonsense.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You'll still play this card because look, even if you're at low life, you cast this. If they lock it down, then you're dead, and that's cool. You get to move on to the next.
Right. That's the only scenario. But like even the ones
lockdown cards in this deck, in the
they
set,
kill abilities.
Yeah, the -5, -0, the new life or whatever, fresh start kills abilities. So that doesn't even matter. But and then if you get a hit in with this and gain 6, that kind of gives you the cushion to cast a spell. And if you're ahead on life, I can see a game where you're like turn 6, play this plus a 4-drop, and I think that could be pretty good. But overall, I think Taval is like an A- just because 5-mana 6/6 flying lifelink really does rule the roost. Like they have to deal with it or they lose.
I would give it an A for what it's worth.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fine. A seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean 6/6 flying lifelink's unassailable. It's just the best creature on the board every time. They can kill it. It's not that it doesn't have any way to protect itself, but they absolutely have to. Next
if you're ever in a position where you're not able to attack with this, then the game is going to go really badly for you.
Yeah, that is a tough spot. Although they probably can't attack you either.
But you can't cast spells.
Yeah, you can't cast anything. Death Begets Life is our last Sultai card. It is 5 black, green, blue for a sorcery. It's Mythic Rare. So we got an 8-mana sorcery that says, destroy all creatures and enchantments. Draw a card for each permanent destroyed this way. Okay. I kept waiting for these really expensive, Jeskai Revelation, Death Begets Life to just be like some big dumb thing that I don't care about. And they just keep delivering. I mean, if you're going to make me get to 8 mana, let's do it. Kill everything.
Yeah.
Reload my hand.
If you cast this, you'll probably win. The biggest fear I have with this, besides not getting to 8, is you have 9 cards in your deck and there's 7 creatures in play.
Totally.
And then you're like, but that's where the Omen cards come into play. So yeah, I would give this a builder on A. If you can see this early and then just draft a Sultai control deck or a Temer control deck splashing black. The fixing is good. You can totally draft blue-green base splashing black and red if you want to, or what have you. So I think that Death Begets Life is a great card to build around, and I think it has really strong applications. It does cost 8 mana, so just make sure you can do that. To be clear, the way you get to 8 mana in Magic, in limited Magic, is card draw, mana ramp, and removal spells.
Yep.
And if you can draft a combination of those, this will be a very good way to make sure you just win the game.
Definitely. We do have a card that covers all the colors. It's called Call the Spirit Dragons, and it is literally WooBurg. It costs white, blue, black, red, green. So straight up, it's an enchantment in Mythic Rare. It says dragons you control have indestructible. Losing interest. At the beginning of your upkeep, for each color...
You're not going to get it back, don't worry.
For each color, put a +1/+1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. If you put +1/+1 counters on 5 dragons... 5 dragons, this way you win the game. Sure, call the spirit dragons. You got it.
Yeah, that's going to happen. So F, don't even try this one.
What about this
Speaking
next one?
Fs.
Mox Jasper. This is 0 mana legendary artifact at Mythic Rare. It taps to add 1 mana of any color, but you can only activate it if you control a dragon. There's no beholding here either. You got to control a dragon to do it.
No, this is an F. You just can't have your mana source only work when you have probably a 5-drop in play. Sometimes I know there's some cheaper ones, but it's just not a playable card.
Okay. Dragonfire Blade is 1 mana for an artifact equipment. It is rare. By the way, these are the only 2 artifacts in the rare review here. It's a rare equipment, and it says equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has hexproof from monocolored. That's pretty good though. +2/+2, and that hexproof from monocolor covers a lot of removal spells and limited, and this is 1 mana. So what does the equip cost? It's 4, but it costs 1 less to activate for each color of the creature it targets. So gold cards, it's 2. Monocolor cards, it's 3. Tricolor cards, it's down to 1. And then if you have, I don't even know if there are any targets for it that would make it free in the set, but
I don't even think so.
Yeah. But I mean, 1 or 2. Yeah. I'm
a little skeptical though, because you would need to have cast a pretty good card to really make it cheaper, because the tricolor cards are generally good. There's the hybrid ones. This is a really good at the common hybrid cycle.
Oh, right.
That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
And you need a deck that is interested in +2/+2 equipment, which not all decks are. So yes, if those pieces come together, this is like a B. But I think a lot of decks wouldn't play it. So I'd kind of say build around B. You want a combination of creatures that benefit from being equipped and some cards that make it a little cheaper, because if you're just paying 3 to equip it, I don't think that's particularly good. You might pay 4 to equip if it's a colorless creature.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I think Dragonfire Blade's all right. I kind of suspect that Tarkir here is about doing slightly bigger things than re-equipping a 2/2 equipment. So I'm a little down on this card, but it will have some games that are good. Right. Speaking of cards that'll have good games, Ugin, Eye of the Storms. 7 mana, legendary Ugin Planeswalker at Mythic Rare, 7 loyalty. Whew. When you cast it, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. And then whenever you cast a colorless spell, you do the same. Wow. Its +2 is gain 3, draw a card. Its 0 is add 3 colorless. And its -11 is search your library for any number of colorless non-lands and then cast them for free. So the ultimate is basically irrelevant. Right. But 7 mana to exile their best thing and then immediately +2, gain 3, draw a card, have 9 loyalty. So in my mind, the top 3 cards in the set are probably Ureni, the Temer Dragon, Ugin, and Elspeth. And I think this might be the best pick 1, pack 1 out of all of them, because it's colorless. You could just and 7 is a funny point too. It's not quite 8. 8 is the inflection point where if you don't build your deck to cast 8s, you're really not casting 8s. Right. You can, if you open this pack 3 and you're a Mardu aggro deck, you just take it and put it in your deck, and sometimes you'll hit 7 mana. That's right. So I would say it's an A+, and the play pattern with this is kill their best thing and draw a bunch of cards.
That's incredible.
That's it. You don't need to do anything else. Sometimes once you have +2 twice, you might use the 0 to add 3 mana and deploy all your cards on the same turn, but you don't really need to do anything else. And I would not put colorless cards in my deck to trigger this, though it could come up sometimes. You don't need to optimize for having Ugin in play. That's not necessary. That's incredible. Though if you have one, play this, exile your thing, add 3 colorless, play another colorless, exile another thing is obviously just
that's disgusting. Incredible.
Like if you have like some of the monuments, right? The uncommon mana fixers, like that's a sick play. So just keep that in mind too.
Keep it in your, I mean, you want it on the battlefield, and it combo with Dragonfire Blade, right? Just boom. It's a removal spell. It's the colorless Swords to Plowshares, Luis. You only need Ugin on board to do it. A+ for Ugin, Eye of the Storms. There are a cycle of lands here at Rare. All of the next 5 cards are, in fact, actually the rest of the cards here are rare. We are going to cover the bonus sheet real quick too, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So I'll use the first one, which is Dalkovan Encampment. It's a land, it's rare. It enters tapped unless you control a swamp or a mountain. It taps to add white mana itself, so you can kind of see how it fits into the Mardu.
They're all the clan, whatever the 2 the two colors next to the it are. So like
exactly.
This is the Mardu one. The Temer one is a blue land that enters tapped unless you control a mountain or forest, and so on and so forth. So,
right.
So basically,
there's one for each.
It's all the colors with the two enemy colors attached to it. Like
exactly. And then they also have activated abilities, and they're all different. So this one is the first one. The Alcoven Encampment is 2 and a white. Tap it. Whenever you attack this turn, create 2/1/1 red warrior creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So it kind of gives you a mobilize 2 on your attack step. That's pretty good, actually. These cards look good.
I think we maybe just talk through what each one does here. So.
Okay.
The blue one is blue tap. The next spell you cast this turn can't be countered. The black one is 1 and a black tap. Exile a creature from your graveyard, make a 1/1 spirit. Red is 3 and a red tap. Exile the top card of your library. Till end of turn, you can play the card. And green is 3 and a green tap, surveil 2. So a good way to look at all of these cards is how much is the drawback, and it's very minimal. Because assuming you're not, is it possible to? It's not possible to be in a clan and have one of these completely off. I don't think because even if you're obs on the Dalkovan Encampment's untapped if you have a swamp, like it's pretty difficult to have these always be off. Obviously, sometimes you might end up not very high on like your Jeskai deck that doesn't have a ton of mountains, but the opportunity cost here is quite low. Even if these straight up came into play tapped, they'd almost all be good. But looking at them individually, the white one's quite good. Mobilize 2 off your land is great. I would say that that's a B. The blue one's basically an F. It's blue tap. The next spell you cast this turn can't be countered. That's just not relevant text. It adds 2 to the cost of your spell. And you can't even use it once you know they have a counter. You have to use it in advance. So I would just not play the blue one. Maybe I'd side it in if they had a bunch of counter spells. The black one is great. Exile a creature from your graveyard to make a 1/1. That's another B. Like I would take that pretty highly. And you can do that instant
speed, right?
Yeah. It's not a sorcery. The red one I think is decent. Basically 4 taps, so 5 mana to exile the top card of your library, and then you can play it until the end of your next turn. I would still call it a B. If you run out of stuff to do, it's good. It's just.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, for both Quarry Mountain and the Kishla Village. So the green and the red. The green is the Surveil 2 for 3 and a green tap. Do you have a sense for us running out of stuff to do in the format?
I think the games go long, so I actually think you will use the red and green ones. These are the ones that are paying 5 mana to either Surveil 2 or exile the top card. And I think that I would give them both a B. The green one is the Surveil 2. The red one is the exile your top card, just because
they're just so expensive.
Well, I would say that yes, but it's just so free to put them in your deck.
Yeah. I just meant the cost. Like, are we actually going to be able to pay for other mana plus tap? So 5 lands get tapped to do the thing. They're powerful things. Late game Surveil 2 is excellent. I had the green one in a Temer deck, and I did use it once in the draft, which is enough to justify playing it. It never came into play tapped. Okay.
And if it's going to come into play tapped into your opening hand, it doesn't matter either.
Right.
So
okay.
I like Bs for across the board, except for the blue one, the Mistrized Village gets an F.
And then there's one more
card but sort of the bonus sheet. It's Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. It's a rare land. It taps for a colorless. Taps for a mana of any color, but you can only use that to cast dragons or omens. Okay. And you can pay 4 tap and sack it to search your library for a dragon and put it in your hand. So if I had a really good dragon and decent mana, I would play this card. Most of the time you probably shouldn't, because the downside of tapping for colorless for probably 19 of the cards in your deck or 20 of the cards in your deck means it's pretty bad. Most limited decks, especially in cons, are not going to want a colorless land. So I would say Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon is probably a D.
It plays as a D, right?
If you have your Rethi or some other, or like the 6/7, the Meringue River Regent or whatever, the double bounce dragon. Yeah, I'm willing to pay some mana to go get those dragons, but most of the time, I mean, even with your Rethi, though, you're going to sack your land to go get your 8-drop. That's kind of like an anti-combo.
No, and you're going to have to live with this colorless land up until that point where you have like triple colored spells in your deck. No way. I am not swallowing that bitter pill. I would give it a D on a build around, but I'm not actually going to play Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon basically ever. Can it get Ugin? No?
Ugin's not a dragon.
Okay,
no.
then I'm off it. Okay, so that's it for the main cards. We actually have not that many. The bonus sheet is 10 cards total, and it's relatively straightforward. The ultimatums are here. So we'll read them and give them a quick grade. They show up so infrequently that, we don't want to go super deep on these, but there's Eerie Ultimatum, which costs white, white, black, 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 green, green. It's a sorcery. These are all mythic, but whatever, they're on the bonus sheet. So they show up like very infrequently. It says return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield for Abzan. Feels like it would be better in Sultai, but.
Yeah. So when you look at ultimatums, this is just like they're an almost more extreme version of the 8 drops. Though in this set, it's actually like somewhat similar, right? 7 mana and an Abzan, but you need the exact mana versus 8 is pretty close. I want these cards to just win me the game when I cast them, and a couple of them are pretty good at doing that.
Yeah.
So ultimatum is not. I don't think
it is either. I also think that you have to look at the context, right? So we'll do that here. I think that the Sultai and Temer ones are the ones that you're most likely to actually be able to cast because you have a heavy green component and it kind of fits in. So here's Emergent Ultimatum. It's black, black, green, 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 blue, blue. Search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards, shuffle that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost, and then you exile the Emergent Ultimatum. That is powerful, but my guess is that is not good enough to actually win me the game. Like, your best cards are not going to be monocolored. Getting 2 spells is really strong. It is like that will be good. I feel like it's borderline on whether it's just to win the game or not. What do you think? Is it cross that threshold for you?
It is pretty unfortunate that your best cards aren't going to be monocolored generally. And if you have one really good one, they're just never going to give that one to you. Mm-hmm. So
if I gave you 2 removal spells or a card draw spell and a removal spell, it's a big advantage, but it's not the same thing as winning. Yeah. I would say that both Eerie and Emergent do not cross that threshold, and therefore I would not want to play them. Genesis Ultimatum is green, green, blue, 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 red, red. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards from among them on the battlefield and the rest into your hand. This is also, and then you have to exile Genesis Ultimatum. This is also close, I think. This one's a little better than Emergent Ultimatum, I think, on average. But I actually still think it's a little short. If I got like a creature and then and a land, and then I drew 3 cards off of this, but I was completely tapped out, like I would feel like I wanted a little more. Again, it's good. I mean, that's a very powerful effect, but I think even Genesis Ultimatum would be a borderline one for me. This is the closest of the 3 that I would actually put in the deck. And I would have to kind of see what I have, because this could easily win you the game, right? I mean, there's a good chance you play you play Genesis Ultimatum and you're just like, okay, here's 2 dragons or whatever. And I got the rest in my hand and it's GG. But this one is a little closer though. Does it cross that threshold for you? The close enough to winning the game?
So here's a funny thing about these 3 ultimatums. I want my 7 mana cards to win the game, right? And we're talking about whether these will do that. Part of what's awkward is all of these require other cards to actually win the game.
Yes, they do.
How many other big cards are you going to have in your deck?
Why can't I just win the game from this card?
Well, that's what Inspired Ultimatum and Ruinous Ultimatum are for.
Right.
That we'll get to those in a second here.
Yeah. So
I think Genesis Ultimatum also has the problem that the Temer decks sometimes are going to have a lot do in them.
Yeah. You just draw 3 cards. It's fine.
It just whiffs by them.
Land. Yeah. What about So where do you come down on Genesis?
I would say that Eerie, Emergent, and Genesis both look in the D range to me, where if you have the mana for them, maybe Eerie's the best one, because I could see like you're playing the Abzan Mirror and the games just go so long and you just cast this and put 5 different things or 7 different things into play. But like when the game goes long and I cast Emergent Ultimatum, you're just going to look at your deck and you're like, wow, I have 5 monocolored cards left and like 2 of them are good. Okay, so I get 1 good card, 1 mediocre card, and then that's what I spent my 7 mana on.
Yeah.
I would just generally not play these cards.
I wouldn't either. It doesn't have to be guaranteed, but I really need to be convinced that I'm winning that turn.
Yeah. So Inspired Ultimatum, on the other hand, it's funny because the Jeskai Revelation is almost the same thing. It's blue, blue, red, 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 white, white, sorcery at Mythic. Target player gains 5 life. Inspired Ultimatum deals 5 damage to any target, and you draw 5 cards. So, yeah, This is the kind of card I'll build up to, where you'll cast this, kill their big thing, gain 5 life, and then you'll beat them with the 5 extra cards you draw. There's no dependencies. I don't have to look at monocolor cards or hope there's good cards in my graveyard or permanents on top of my deck. Just cast Inspired Ultimatum. This looks like a B level card to me. It's a build around. It costs a lot of mana.
I mean, it's so much worse though, right, than Jeskai Revelation for like getting you out of a bind. Like, yes, you get 3 extra cards. But
no, I don't think it's that much worse, because gain 5, deal 5 is going to cover most of the situations. The biggest bind it'll get you out of is you have 7 lands in play, and 3 of them are plains, and only 2 of them are mountains, and you can't cast it. You're dead. Whereas Jeskai Ultimatum or Jeskai Revelation, you can still cast at that point. So that's the biggest difference.
I feel like Inspired Ultimatum is just like the win more version. Like, because, Jeskai Revelation gets you out of more spots.
But gives you less on board.
Right. It just, exactly. Like way less.
But
I mean, return
it's enough still. Like, realistically, how many games are you playing where deal 5, gain 5 doesn't at least buy you another turn?
Yeah, it usually does. It's true.
And then you have a ton of cards to cast and a bunch of mana. So I would say build around B for Inspired Ultimatum.
Agreed.
And that brings us to Ruinous, the Mardu one, which is red, white, black, sorcery mythic. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control.
Thank you. Win me the dang game.
Boom. The biggest downside on this is I think Mardu's probably literally the worst clan about getting to 7 mana.
Right. I would say you probably never actually want to put Ruinous Ultimatum in your deck in a normal Mardu deck.
Yeah, I bet there's a Mardu control deck you could build. There's some card draw. There's the draw 2, lose 2 life. There's the 5 mana dragon that deals 2 and you gain 2 or whatever. Like you can assemble that, and Ruinous Ultimatum is good there. But Inspired Ultimatum, I think, will fit into a Jeskai control deck a lot cleaner than Ruinous Ultimatum into the average Mardu deck. So
yeah, I would assume it sees very little play.
There's Inspired Ultimatum, build around B. Ruinous is like a build around C, and the other 3 I think you just don't really want to play, which leads us to our actual last 5 cards, which are the 5 enemy fetch lands: Arid Mesa, Marsh Flats, Misty Rainforest, Scalding Tarn, and Verdant Catacombs, which I think are good.
What do they do?
Better. Oh, you sack it to get a basic land. So Arid Mesa, tap, sack, pay a life, get a mountain or plains from your deck, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle.
And that's actually getting just mountain or plains in this set, right? Like the Tri-lands,
there's
all
no
that
duels,
stuff. Yeah.
And so, yes, you pay a life, but it's untapped, all of this. Arid Mesa is untapped, so is the land you get. And it puts a card in your graveyard. So the Sultai colored ones, so like Misty Rainforest and Verdant Catacombs, I think are generally better than the other ones, because Sultai just does a little more with cards in the graveyard. It's got like a tiny bit of delve. I guess it doesn't even really have that much, honestly.
It's like that one card, yeah.
It has the one card that cares about how many lands are in your graveyard. Mostly this is an untapped 2-color duel, which I think is worth paying a life for. So I would say these are better than the lands, and their enemy color, which always fits nicely. But overall, these aren't. You're going to take them when you open them in a booster pack because they're expensive cards. But in terms of actual, like, I'm playing at the Pro Tour, I opened this. It's like a C+ level card. It's just kind of like one of the common lands. Yeah,
I was going to say. I mean, if you were to put these up against the gain lands are better, right?
I actually don't know that that's true, because the first duels, having an untapped land is really nice. And this, if you care about shuffling or you care about putting cards in your graveyard, these are better. But yeah, maybe the game lands are even better. I don't know.
Dual lands are pretty nice in these type of sets where you kind of need to shift around.
And by dual lands, you mean Dismal Backwater taps for blue and black mana at the same time. You crack Misty, you get your island or your forest, but then you're locked into that choice. Right. So yeah, I would say they're still about C+ level. They're pretty close.
Okay, that's it. Those are all the cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. We have covered them, and you are now ready. The set comes out tomorrow, Tuesday on Arena, and somehow Luis is playing in a GP level event on Saturday. So this is life comes at you fast. But that is going to do it for our set review. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you want to find us on social media, I'm Marshall_LR and Luis is LSV. Pretty much everywhere you can find us. Everything related to the podcast over at lrcast.com, including all old episodes of the show, even the one we did last week, or over on our YouTube channel as well. We've put up every episode on there for years now, so you can go back through there and find a bunch. We want to thank everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you very, very much. It really does mean the world to us. And thank you to Ultimate Guard for supporting the show. We really appreciate it as well. That is going to do it for this one. We will see you next week.
I just want to follow up on what you just mentioned. I'm playing in a Grand Prix level event, the Spotlight Series, and I just want to say one more time, I'm really excited for the opportunity to have everyone follow me. I'm really hoping this doesn't turn into like me opening a terrible sealed and going 2 and 3. That would be such a bummer.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of some ways I could maybe stack the deck to make that less likely. Because these days I hear that if you get banned or DQ'd from a Magic tournament, you just get to play in the next one. So is there really any drawback for me just going complete savage? I'm not even playing a tournament for a year. So really, what's stopping me from just drawing extra cards, intimidating my opponents? Like,
well, if they did ban you, how would we even know?
Yeah, but what are they going to enforce it? I mean, clearly not at this point.
I believe you, Luis.
I believe I could get away with some pretty good stuff. Combination of browbeating my opponents, lying to judges, drawing extra cards. Yeah. Though actually drawing extra cards is one of the worst cheats because you can just count the cards and see. But like there's a lot you can do that a lot of people have been. And this is maybe my roundabout way of saying that sucks. And I wish people that got DQ'd from Magic tournaments felt or had more of a penalty than simply being DQ'd from that Magic tournament. When someone gets DQ'd from an RC and then they makes the finals of the next Pro Tour, not saying anyone in mind, but that literally did happen. That's nonsense. That's not cool. And I think that Wizards might want to wash their hands of enforcing all this, but it's going to come back to bite them if it already hasn't. That I think the loss of confidence of people playing in Magic tournaments is real. I know some friends who play a lot online who like haven't played much in paper. Like, I don't really want to play in paper. People are just going to cheat against me. And it's like kind of hard to defend that. What are you going to say? Like, yeah, a bunch of cheaters play at these tournaments now because they get kicked out of one tournament and just move on to the next one. So does anyone listening who's got any power to change that? That would be a great thing to do.